For millions of years, giant dinosaurs ruled changing continents of forest, floodplain, and shallow sea. Herds of peaceful plant eaters moved slowly along riverbanks and coastal lagoons, stripping leaves, swallowing ferns, and grinding tough plants between rows of worn teeth. But in the same environments, powerful hunters watched from the shadows and from the water, ready to turn those quiet scenes into a sudden struggle for life. Most people imagine Tyrannosaurus rex when thinking about the ultimate meat eater, the top predator with bone-crushing jaws and massive, strong skull bones. T-Rex has become one of the most famous dinosaurs, a symbol of brute force and raw power on land. Yet in the Cretaceous river systems of North Africa, there was a larger, stranger killer, a dinosaur whose jaws held more teeth than any animal alive today, and whose hunting grounds were not just the shore, but the water itself. This was Spinosaurus, a 50-foot river monster that turned ancient waterways into corridors of fear. Its skull stretched long and narrow like a crocodile's, packed with conical teeth that did not slice and shatter, but gripped and held. Each tooth was smooth and dagger-like, designed to pierce slippery prey and lock it in place, while new replacement teeth grew constantly behind them, creating a lifetime total in the thousands. In this predator's bite, escape was almost impossible. Spinosaurus did not simply look strange because of its jaws. Rising from its back, a towering sail of elongated vertebral spines formed one of the most dramatic silhouettes in the fossil record. These tall neural spines, some more than 5 or 6 feet high, turned the animal into a moving wall of flesh and bone above the waterline. Below the surface, dense limb bones, short hind legs, and a deep, fin-like tail helped drive its body through the rivers with powerful strokes. What kind of dinosaur turns its entire skeleton into a weapon for hunting in water? For decades, scientists have misunderstood this animal. Early fossils from Egypt and later discoveries were incomplete, leading paleontologists to rebuild Spinosaurus as a dryland walker, a more typical two-legged predator stalking floodplains. Then, new fossils from Morocco revealed a very different creature: shorter legs, denser bones, and a broad, flexible tail. Chemical signatures inside its teeth, including oxygen isotopes, provided evidence showing that this giant spent much of its life in aquatic environments, diving after giant fish and other prey. Spinosaurus was not alone in this dangerous world. Around it lived other powerful hunters, from bone-crushing land predators like Carcharodontosaurus to sleek, fast ambushers that chased prey through forests and along river margins. Each species carried special abilities that played an important role in its environment, from slicing teeth to grasping claws and finely tuned senses. In this episode, these fossils will be treated as case studies in danger, revealing how different weapons, habitats, and hunting strategies created one of the most lethal lineups of predators many millions of years ago. And at the center of it all stands Spinosaurus, the river monster with more teeth than anything alive, waiting beneath the surface. What happens when the deadliest dinosaur is not a land hunter at all, but a semi-aquatic nightmare? In this series, each predator is treated as a case study in danger. Some relied on massive bone-crushing bites, others on slicing teeth or slashing claws, but all developed special abilities that turned ancient ecosystems into deadly hunting grounds. Within this larger hunt for the most dangerous dinosaurs, Spinosaurus becomes something different, a test of how far evolution can bend the rules and still create a top predator. This episode focuses on Spinosaurus as an extreme experiment in design. Instead of a short, deep skull and thick, crushing teeth, it carried a long crocodile-like snout, packed with conical teeth that gripped rather than shattered. Its body was reshaped for a semi-aquatic life, with dense bones, shortened hind limbs, strong forelimbs, broad feet, and a tall tail that worked almost like a fin. Together, these features turned it into one of the most unusual hunters many millions of years ago. To understand how such a predator functioned, the investigation follows a clear path. It begins with the name and discovery of Spinosaurus in the early 20th century, and the dramatic loss and later rediscovery of key fossils. From there, the story moves into time and environment, placing this dinosaur in the river systems and coastal plains of Cretaceous North Africa. Then it examines body design, from the famous sail on its back to the dense limb bones that hint at a life in the water. Next, the focus narrows to weapon anatomy and performance. The long jaws, the hundreds of replacement teeth over a lifetime, the pressure sensors in the snout, and the flexible tail are explored as parts of a single hunting machine. Scientists have run digital models and physical tests to estimate how fast it could swim, how strongly it could grip prey, and how its body balanced between land and water. Each line of evidence helps reveal what this animal could actually do. Behind these reconstructions lies a growing record of fossils and chemical traces. There is evidence showing that the oxygen isotopes in its teeth match animals that spent much of their lives in water. New tail fossils from Morocco reshaped its image from a mostly land-based hunter into a powerful swimmer. Together, these remains played an important role in shifting Spinosaurus from a mystery silhouette into a semi-aquatic super predator. At the heart of this chapter is a central question. What does it really mean to be the most dangerous? Is it raw bite force and shattered bones, or a design that almost guarantees prey cannot escape once caught? Spinosaurus did not crush giant herbivores like Tyrannosaurus rex. Instead, it turned rivers into traps, using its many teeth to hold slippery prey until struggle turned to stillness. Throughout the episode, its abilities are compared with T-Rex, living crocodiles, giant sharks, and other apex predators. How does a river-stalking dinosaur measure up against a land-based bone crusher or a modern ocean hunter? The answers will show how Spinosaurus carved out a unique kind of lethality and set the stage for a closer look at its skull, teeth, and hunting style in the next section. To understand that river-stalking killer, its name must first be faced: Spinosaurus aegyptiacus. The words sound heavy, almost dangerous, and they are. Translated from Latin and Greek, the name means spine lizard from Egypt, a direct reference to the towering neural spines that rose from its back like the frame of a sail. Those long, strong bones turned an already giant predator into a moving landmark on the Cretaceous floodplains. This dinosaur first stepped into human knowledge in the early 20th century. In the Bahariya oasis of Egypt, German paleontologist Ernst Stromer uncovered strange fossils: vertebrae with extremely tall spines, parts of a long crocodile-like skull, and powerful limb bones. These remains, collected between 1910 and 1914, played an important role in revealing that many millions of years ago, North Africa was home to one of the most unusual meat-eating dinosaurs ever found. Stromer recognized that this was no ordinary carnivore. He named it Spinosaurus aegyptiacus and carefully shipped the fossils to Munich, where they were displayed in a museum. Photographs and detailed drawings showed a theropod with an enormous sail on its back and a long, narrow snout filled with sharp teeth, but the original bones did not survive. In 1944, during World War II, Allied bombing destroyed the museum and the precious skeleton inside it. With that single event, Spinosaurus became a scientific ghost. For decades, only Stromer's notes, sketches, and a few old photographs remained. No complete skull, no full skeleton. Scientists had to guess its true shape from scattered bones found in other places and from comparisons with related dinosaurs. Was it built like a giant Allosaurus with a sail, or something far stranger? The lack of direct evidence turned Spinosaurus into a legend that was hard to test. Even in this shadowy state, hints of its power were clear. The skull fragments showed a long, low snout with many conical teeth, more like a crocodile than a typical land predator. Limb and spine bones suggested a body that could reach 15 to perhaps 16 meters in length, likely surpassing even Tyrannosaurus rex from snout to tail. If these estimates are correct, This was one of the most massive meat-eating dinosaurs, a super predator that ruled river systems instead of dry plains. In the 21st century, the ghost began to take shape again. New fossils from Morocco and other North African sites revealed additional pieces of the puzzle. Denser bones suited to spending time in water, short hind limbs, a deep, paddle-like tail, and more of that long tooth-filled snout. Scientists have gathered evidence showing that Spinosaurus was uniquely adapted to a semi-aquatic environment, hunting giant fish and other prey in broad river channels. Each new discovery has rewritten its posture, its swimming style, and its terrifying capabilities. And all of this leads to a crucial question. How did that strange skull and its forest of teeth actually work as a weapon? To understand that weapon, the story must go back not to the rivers of many millions of years ago, but to a night of fire in human history. In April 1944, Allied bombs fell on the German city of Munich, turning large parts of the city into burning ruins. Inside the museum there, the only known fossils of Spinosaurus collected by Ernst Stromer were destroyed. In a few terrible hours, the original bones of this strange predator were lost forever. Those fossils had included parts of the skull, long neural spines from the back, and sections of the skeleton that hinted at a powerful, dangerous animal. When the building collapsed and burned, only Stromer's careful drawings, photographs, and written notes survived. For decades, scientists had to rely on these records instead of real bones. As a result, Spinosaurus became almost a ghost among dinosaurs, known mainly from sketches and a handful of scattered references in scientific papers. With so little direct evidence, artists and textbooks filled in the gaps with guesswork. Spinosaurus was usually shown as a large, two-legged predator, shaped like a stretched Tyrannosaurus rex, walking on strong hind limbs across dry, desert-like environments. It carried a tall sail on its back, but its body plan was treated as fairly standard for a big theropod. In many illustrations, it simply stalked land-dwelling prey, its long snout used like any other set of sharp teeth, because there was almost no evidence showing that it lived differently. That picture began to crack when a new wave of fossils emerged from the rocks of North Africa. Quarry workers and local hunters in Morocco and other countries uncovered partial skulls, vertebrae, and limb bones that matched Stromer's drawings. Scientists have compared these finds and realized they belonged to Spinosaurus or its close relatives. Each new piece added detail: a longer, narrower snout than expected, shorter hind limbs, and unusual dense bones that suggested a different lifestyle. The most dramatic change came with the discovery of a nearly complete tail. Instead of a simple narrow structure like that of many land predators, it formed a tall, flexible fin with long spines and expanded bone projections. This tail looked far better suited to pushing against water than to balancing a running animal on land. Combined with the elongated crocodile-like skull, retracted nostrils placed higher on the snout, and heavy, compact bones, the evidence showed that Spinosaurus was one of the most specialized semi-aquatic dinosaurs ever found. In this new reconstruction, Spinosaurus becomes a river hunter, its body acting as a living paddle, its tail driving it forward, and its jaws snapping shut on giant fish in deep channels. But if its entire image could shift from desert walker to aquatic super predator in just a few decades, what else might still be misunderstood about its weapons? Could its teeth, bite mechanics, and hunting strategies hold further surprises that change the story yet again? Many millions of years ago, long before deserts covered North Africa, the world of Spinosaurus was a place of water, heat, and danger. Some dinosaurs stalked dry plains, but this predator ruled a different stage entirely, where deep rivers hid powerful jaws and swarms of teeth beneath the surface. Spinosaurus lived during the mid-Cretaceous period, around 99 to 93 million years ago. At that time, the age of Tyrannosaurus rex had not yet begun in North America. The continents were arranged differently, Sea levels were higher, and broad seaways cut across landmasses. In this changing world, northern Africa formed one of the most dangerous wetland ecosystems ever discovered in the dinosaur fossil record. The places that are now the hot, wind-carved deserts of Morocco, Egypt, and surrounding regions once looked completely different. Fossils and sediment layers show that these areas were covered by sprawling river systems and coastal plains that emptied into shallow inland seas. Where there is sand and rock today, there were broad floodplains, winding channels, and muddy banks lined with vegetation. Scientists have uncovered evidence showing that this was a vast river delta environment. Deep channels flowed between shifting sandbars and islands, while mangrove-like forests anchored the banks with tangled roots. Seasonal floods spread out across the lowlands, turning flat ground into temporary lakes and swamps. The climate was warm and humid, with heavy rains feeding the rivers and creating a rich oxygen-filled habitat for aquatic life. In this watery landscape, the community of animals was both diverse and dangerous. Giant sawfish with long-toothed snouts cruised the channels, alongside huge coelacanths and massive lungfish that could survive in stagnant pools. Crocodile-like pholidiosaurs waded near the banks, their slender jaws packed with sharp teeth. Other large theropod dinosaurs, including Carcharodontosaurus with its blade-like teeth, hunted on the drier floodplains where long-necked and duck-billed plant eaters moved in herds. Early birds darted over the water, turtles paddled between sandbars, and small mammals hid in the undergrowth and burrows, trying to avoid the many predators. Within this complex ecosystem, Spinosaurus played an important role as the top predator of the waterways. Its dense bones, shortened hind limbs, and broad feet suited it to wading and swimming, while its long crocodile-like skull and conical teeth were ideal for gripping slippery prey. Instead of chasing large land dinosaurs across open ground, it patrolled channels, sandbars, and flooded forests, straddling the boundary between river and shore. This allowed it to exploit a rich food source that most big theropods barely touched. For the fish, reptiles, and even other predators that entered the water, this created a constant threat from below. A shadow in the murky current could suddenly become a lunging snout filled with teeth. But how did this environment shape the fine details of its bite, its senses, and its hunting strategies in the water? In this river world, Spinosaurus did not hunt alone. Many millions of years ago, the same North African floodplains also supported another giant killer, Carcharodontosaurus. This predator was almost as long as Tyrannosaurus rex, but its skull and teeth told a very different story. Instead of narrow conical teeth for gripping, it carried long, blade-like, serrated teeth, shaped more like the teeth of a great white shark than a crocodile. Scientists have found fossils of Carcharodontosaurus with deep, powerful jaws and a tall, narrow skull. These features, along with its sharp, slicing teeth, suggest a hunter built to tear through thick muscle and soft bones rather than chase slippery fish. In the same ancient basins where Spinosaurus patrolled the waterways, Carcharodontosaurus likely stalked herds of large plant-eating dinosaurs across the drier ground. One ruled the open country, the other haunted the currents. This contrast helps explain how such huge predators could share the same broad environment without destroying each other's food supply. Evidence showing that their bodies were adapted to different hunting zones suggests a kind of natural division. Spinosaurus, with its dense bones, short hind limbs, and paddle-like tail, was drawn to deep channels, riverbanks, and swampy margins. Carcharodontosaurus, with longer legs and a more traditional theropod build, probably dominated inland floodplains and firmer ground, where speed and slashing bites played an important role. But the rivers themselves were far from empty. Alongside Spinosaurus lived large crocodiliforms, some reaching lengths comparable to modern saltwater crocodiles, or even larger. Their long snouts and strong tails turned the shallows into a maze of ambush points. Smaller theropods, turtles, and armored fish added more layers to this crowded food web. In such an environment, every mistake could end in a sudden attack from below or from the bank. In this constant competition, specialization meant survival. Spinosaurus did not match Carcharodontosaurus in bone-slicing power, and it did not match the crocodiliforms in low, stealthy ambush along narrow channels. Instead, its crocodile-like skull, pressure-sensitive snout, and battery of conical teeth gave it a unique edge. Those smooth, rounded teeth were less likely to snap when clamped onto thrashing, powerful fish or aquatic reptiles. Once they closed around prey, the long jaws acted like a living trap, gripping rather than cutting. Scientists have studied the wear patterns and chemical signatures in Spinosaurus teeth, finding evidence showing that this dinosaur spent much of its time in the water and fed heavily on aquatic animals. In a river packed with giant fish, crocodile cousins, and rival theropods, this combination of sensory adaptations and tooth design turned its jaws into one of the most effective fish-catching tools ever built by a dinosaur. But how exactly did those teeth work together with its bite force, neck muscles, and senses to secure a kill in murky, fast-moving water? Those teeth and sensory systems did not work alone. They were mounted on a body that looked unlike any other giant predator, a strange combination of river hunter and land-walking dinosaur. To understand how it killed, it is necessary to see the entire animal moving through its environment, from snout to tail. Spinosaurus was one of the most elongated theropods ever discovered. Estimates based on fossils from Morocco and Egypt suggest a length of around 14 meters, with some reconstructions pushing past 15 meters from nose to tail tip. That made it longer than Tyrannosaurus rex, stretching across a riverbank like a living bridge. Yet scientists have evidence showing that its overall mass was probably somewhat lighter. Instead of a compact, muscular land sprinter, this predator was a long, low river giant. Its torso was deep and barrel-shaped, with an elongated body cavity that gave it a different profile from other large meat-eating dinosaurs. The ribs curved outward to form a broad, rounded chest, rather than a narrow racing frame. This shape added volume and helped provide buoyancy and stability in water, allowing the animal to float higher and roll less in churning currents. At the same time, the strong vertebrae and hip bones show that this body could still support movement on land, even if it was not built for high-speed chases. The limbs of Spinosaurus reveal even more about its semi-aquatic lifestyle. Compared with other giant theropods, the hind legs were relatively short, bringing the body closer to the ground and lowering its center of mass. This would have made fast running harder, but it improved balance while wading through deep channels or pushing off from the riverbed. In contrast, the forelimbs were robust, with powerful shoulder bones and large claws that could help grip struggling prey or pull the animal forward in shallow water. Fossil footprints and bone structures suggest that the feet may have been broad, with toes that spread weight over soft mud. Some scientists have proposed partially webbed feet, an adaptation that would have played an important role in swimming and slow, controlled movement through flooded plains. In this way, the legs and feet formed a living compromise between walking and paddling. Rising above this unusual body was the most famous feature of Spinosaurus, its sail. Tall neural spines, some over 1.5 to 2 meters high, projected from the backbone and were covered in skin and soft tissue. This structure may have been used for display, making the animal stand out against the flat river landscape, or for thermoregulation, catching sun and wind as it rested along the shore. Another possibility is that the sail helped stabilize the body while swimming, acting like a vertical fin in the water. Below the surface, further adaptations completed the picture. The limb bones were unusually dense for a theropod, reducing buoyancy and helping the animal stay submerged rather than bobbing up like a cork. Behind, the tail was tall and laterally flexible, with long spines and chevrons that formed a broad, fin-like profile. Experiments with models have provided evidence showing that such a tail could generate strong side-to-side thrust, similar to a crocodile or giant newt. Taken together, these features created a predator whose entire frame was tuned for an amphibious ambush lifestyle. Long body, deep chest, shortened hind limbs, strong arms, broad feet, towering sail, dense bones, and a powerful swimming tail all worked with its tooth-filled jaws to dominate the Cretaceous river systems. But even with this specialized design, how did it actually stalk, strike, and handle prey in fast-moving water? And what did life look like in the dangerous wetlands it called home many millions of years ago? For many millions of years, great rivers carved through the deserts of North Africa, hiding giant predators beneath their surfaces. Some dinosaurs walked along the banks, but one of the most extraordinary hunters was being redesigned in the minds of scientists, not in the water, but in the laboratory. The key was not its jaws or its sail, it was its tail. In 2014, new fossils of Spinosaurus were uncovered in the Kem beds of Morocco. Among the broken bones and scattered vertebrae, scientists found a series of tailbones unlike those of any other large theropod. Each vertebra carried tall blade-like spines rising high above the main shaft of the tail. When these spines were assembled in order, they formed a deep, fin-shaped structure rather than the low, muscular tail seen in land-hunting predators such as Allosaurus or Tyrannosaurus rex. The shape of this tail immediately invited comparison with modern aquatic animals. Instead of a narrow, stiff tail built mainly for balance on land, Spinosaurus had a tall, flexible tail that looked more like the swimming organs of crocodiles, newts, and certain fish-eating lizards. The joints between the tailbones allowed a strong side-to-side motion, while the expanded spines created a broad surface to push against the water. This combination suggested that the tail did not simply trail behind the body, it generated power. To test these ideas, scientists turned to mechanical models and water experiments. They built physical replicas of the Spinosaurus tail, along with models of more typical theropod tails, and placed them in flumes where flowing water could be carefully controlled. By moving the models in a swimming motion, they measured thrust and efficiency. The results provided clear evidence showing that the tall fin-like tail of Spinosaurus produced far more forward force in water than the low, narrow tails of other meat-eating dinosaurs of similar size. This evidence played an important role in changing how Spinosaurus is reconstructed. Earlier images showed a mostly land-walking predator, perhaps wading in shallow water, but still relying on long legs and a horizontal body like other giant hunters. With the discovery of its fin-shaped tail, shortened hind limbs, dense bones, and broad feet, a different picture emerged. Spinosaurus is now seen as a semi-aquatic animal that spent much of its time swimming through deep channels, using its powerful tail to stalk giant fish and other prey beneath the surface. If its tail and body were so specialized for life in the water, what does that mean for its skull and teeth? Were its long jaws simply another version of a crocodile's trap? Or did they function in a way that no living predator can match? To understand how this river monster actually caught and held its prey, the focus must return to its long snout and the forest of conical teeth that lined it. To understand that forest of teeth, the story must begin with the skull that held them. Spinosaurus did not have the deep, blocky head seen in Tyrannosaurus rex or Giganotosaurus. Instead, its skull was long, narrow, and low, stretching out like the snout of a giant crocodile or modern gharial. This shape alone tells scientists that this predator hunted in a very different way from the bone-crushing giants of the land. Fossils from Morocco and Egypt show that the skull could reach nearly 2 meters in length, yet it was not a solid mass of heavy bone. Like many predatory dinosaurs, it was pierced by large openings called fenestrae. These wide gaps in the side and top of the skull reduced weight while still allowing strong bony struts to brace the jaws, As a result, the snout could be extremely long without becoming too heavy or fragile, a design that played an important role in turning the head into a fast, accurate, striking weapon. The placement of the nostrils adds another important clue. Instead of sitting close to the tip of the snout, the external openings were pulled back toward the middle of the skull. This retracted position is very similar to that of crocodilians that spend much of their time in the water. It meant that Spinosaurus could push its long jaws down into the river, with teeth and snout submerged, while still breathing through nostrils kept just above the surface. Scientists have found evidence showing that this adaptation matched an environment filled with broad, slow rivers and deep channels. At the very front of the jaws, the snout flared outward into a subtle rosette. Here, the upper and lower jaws widened slightly, creating a rounded expansion that housed a cluster of enlarged teeth. These front teeth were bigger and more widely spaced than those farther back, forming a powerful gripping zone. Many millions of years ago, when giant fish and aquatic reptiles surged through North African waterways, this rosette would have been the first point of contact, snapping shut around slippery, struggling prey. Along the rest of the jaw, the skull's architecture supported rows of straight, conical teeth, rather than the thick serrated blades seen in other large theropods. The long snout, lightened by fenestrae yet reinforced by strong bony ridges, acted almost like the frame of a fishing trap. Once prey slipped between those jaws, the narrow teeth could interlock, turning the entire mouth into a living cage. Was this simply a scaled-up version of a crocodile's bite? Or did Spinosaurus carry this design to an extreme never seen in any animal alive today? To answer that, the focus must move from the shape of the skull to the sheer number and nature of the teeth themselves. In that long, narrow skull, the numbers alone are striking. At any given moment, many millions of years ago, the jaws of Spinosaurus carried more than 60 visible teeth, each one conical and tightly packed along the snout. This already placed it far ahead of predators like Tyrannosaurus rex, whose massive mouth held fewer, thicker teeth, designed for crushing bone rather than gripping slippery prey. Yet the real story is not just how many teeth were on display, but how many passed through those jaws over a lifetime. Theropod dinosaurs did not keep a single set of teeth for life. Like sharks and crocodiles, they lived with a constant conveyor belt hidden inside the jaw. Each tooth sat in a socket, and beneath every functioning tooth, a replacement was already forming, slowly pushing upward as the older crown wore down, cracked or snapped off during a violent struggle. Scientists have studied thin slices of Spinosaurus teeth and jawbones under powerful microscopes, and the results are remarkable. In many sockets, there is evidence showing that several generations of teeth were stacked together at once, like a vertical row of daggers waiting their turn. As one tooth neared the end of its use, the next was already almost in position, and behind that, another young tooth was beginning to grow from deep within the bone. This rapid turnover meant that Spinosaurus was not just a dinosaur with 60 teeth. It was effectively a tooth factory. Over the course of its life, the total number of teeth produced likely reached into the thousands, making it one of the most extreme examples of continuous tooth replacement known from any predator. Fossils from North Africa, especially from the river deposits of Morocco, are littered with isolated Spinosaurus teeth, a silent record of this endless cycle. The contrast with modern hunters is striking. Big cats, wolves, and other mammalian predators have relatively few highly specialized teeth. Those teeth are strong and efficient, but they do not cycle rapidly. Damage or loss can be a serious disadvantage. Crocodiles and sharks do replace teeth, and their environments also played an important role in shaping the system. But even they rarely show the same dense stacking of multiple replacements in a single socket that has been described for Spinosaurus. Here, a pattern interrupt appears in the fossil record itself. In some layers, Spinosaurus teeth are found in huge numbers, far more than the teeth of other dinosaurs in the same environment. What does this suggest? It points to a predator that could afford to lose teeth constantly while tackling thrashing fish, armored lungfish, and other aquatic reptiles. Broken or torn out teeth were simply the cost of doing business in a dangerous river system. This constant renewal had a clear functional payoff. Spinosaurus could bite hard into struggling prey without hesitation, knowing that any damaged tooth would soon be replaced. Its mouth remained a fully armed trap, perfectly adapted to life in the water. In the next section, attention turns from this living conveyor belt of teeth to the rest of the body, and how the skeleton and tail turned Spinosaurus into a powerful swimmer, as well as a deadly hunter. Spinosaurus did not just carry more teeth than almost any other dinosaur. It carried a different kind of weapon entirely. In the ancient rivers of North Africa, its jaws were not bone-crushing hammers like those of Tyrannosaurus rex, but long, narrow traps lined with conical daggers built for a very different kind of kill. The teeth of Spinosaurus were slender, straight, and pointed, with a smooth or only subtly ridged surface. Many fossils show that these teeth had only the tiniest serrations, if any at all, giving them a clean, almost polished look. In life, they would have resembled oversized crocodile teeth, closely packed along the edges of a long, low snout. This shape allowed each tooth to slide into flesh with little resistance, gripping rather than tearing, and forming a cage of spikes that was difficult for prey to escape. In sharp contrast, the teeth of Tyrannosaurus rex were thick, deep, and strongly curved, often compared to heavy bananas. Their surfaces carried large, prominent serrations along the front and back edges, like the blades of giant steak knives. These serrations concentrated force into small points, helping the teeth slice through meat and even score deep grooves in bones. Scientists have found evidence showing that some T-Rex teeth were reinforced internally, with dense tissue that helped them resist cracking when exposed to powerful bite forces. These differences in tooth shape reveal very different hunting strategies. Conical teeth are excellent at gripping slippery prey, such as fish and aquatic reptiles. Because they are round in cross-section, pressure is spread more evenly along the tooth, reducing the chance of bending or snapping when a captured animal thrashes violently. In the fast-moving murky rivers where Spinosaurus lived many millions of years ago, this design played an important role in keeping hold of prey that would otherwise slide free. The lack of strong serrations on Spinosaurus teeth is just as important as their shape. Without heavy cutting edges, these teeth were not specialized for slicing off large chunks of flesh or pulverizing bone the way T-Rex could. Instead, they were ideal for holding, pinning, and repositioning live, struggling animals in the water. Fossils of related spinosaurids with fish scales and crocodile bones preserved in their stomach regions provide evidence showing that this family of predators focused on soft-bodied or lightly armored prey. This raises a crucial question. If its teeth were built to grip rather than crush, how did Spinosaurus actually kill and process its victims in the water? To answer that, attention must move beyond the jaws to the rest of the skull, neck, and body, and to the powerful tail that turned this dinosaur into one of the most formidable swimmers of its time. To understand that power, attention must return to the jaws themselves. Spinosaurus lived many millions of years ago in river systems filled with giant fish, crocodile-like reptiles, and other dangerous animals. In this shifting aquatic environment, its bite was not designed to pulverize bone like a sledgehammer. It was engineered to clamp down and hold on. Biomechanical studies based on skull reconstructions and computer models have given scientists important clues about this dinosaur's true performance. These tests suggest that Spinosaurus had a strong bite, fully capable of seizing large prey, but not in the same league as the extreme bone-crushing power estimated for Tyrannosaurus rex. While T-Rex may have delivered forces great enough to drive thick teeth straight through bones, Spinosaurus appears to have relied on a different strategy, one that focused on control rather than destruction. The long, narrow snout of Spinosaurus, lined with many conical teeth, functioned like a living set of tongs. Instead of a few huge teeth, it carried dozens of relatively slender ones that interlocked when the jaws closed. This created a vice-like grip along much of the jaw's length. When a thrashing fish or struggling reptile was caught, the force did not concentrate on a single tooth. It spread along the entire row, reducing the chance of breakage and making escape far more difficult. Evidence showing that the front of the snout was especially reinforced adds another layer to this picture. The bones at the tip were thickened and tightly joined, and the jaw joints at the back were robust. Scientists have compared this arrangement to modern crocodiles, which often seized a large fish and then twist, shake, or roll their bodies. In Spinosaurus, this strong construction meant the skull could withstand violent sideways movements without tearing itself apart. The architecture of the skull also played an important role in how forces were handled. Large openings between the bones helped keep the head relatively light, but they were framed by strong ridges and buttresses. These features formed a kind of natural framework that was especially good at resisting bending and torsion from side-to-side movements. In contrast, it was less suited to straight-down, crushing loads like those experienced by the deep, broad skull of T-Rex. In the water, this design became one of the most effective tools in the ancient rivers. Buoyancy, currents, and struggling prey all created twisting forces rather than simple downward pressure. Here, the clamp and hold system turned the mouth of Spinosaurus into a living bear trap, snapping shut and refusing to let go. But once the prey was captured and pinned, how did this river giant finish the kill and tear its victim apart? To answer that question, it is necessary to look even closer at the skull of Spinosaurus. Its jaws were not just long and filled with strong conical teeth. Along the surface of the snout bones, tiny pits and openings formed a hidden network. These small foramina covered the front of the muzzle, creating a pattern that is strikingly similar to the pressure-sensitive organs seen in living crocodilians. In crocodiles, these structures are called integumentary sensory organs. They sit in the skin over the bones and are linked to nerves that run deep into the skull. Scientists have gathered evidence showing that these organs can detect the slightest disturbances in water, such as the ripples made by a struggling fish or the faint wake of a swimming bird. Even when the water is dark and muddy and vision is almost useless, crocodiles can aim their jaws with surprising accuracy. Experiments with modern crocodiles have shown that they can strike at prey in complete darkness, guided only by changes in water pressure. A single splash, a tiny wave, or the vibration from a tail flick is enough to trigger a lightning-fast attack. This system played an important role in turning them into one of the most effective ambush predators in river and lake environments. The head may appear still and calm at the surface, but beneath the skin, a sophisticated sensory web is constantly reading the water. The snout of Spinosaurus shows a very similar arrangement of pits and canals. Many fossils from North Africa display this pattern clearly, especially near the tip of the jaws. Scientists have used this evidence to propose that Spinosaurus carried a crocodile-like sensory system in its face. If this is correct, it could detect the movement of fish and other prey beneath the surface without relying only on sight or hearing. In the often murky rivers of the Cretaceous, that would have been a powerful advantage. Once the snout detected a target, the rest of the skull did the deadly work. The long, narrow jaws could swing shut with precision, guided by the pressure information flowing through those nerve-rich pits. Dozens of conical teeth met like interlocking stakes, gripping slippery bodies that might have escaped a different kind of bite. Instead of slicing, the teeth acted as a living cage, instantly locking prey in place while the rest of the body drove forward. Picture the scene many millions of years ago. The river is quiet, the surface broken only by a low sail-backed shadow and the narrow ridge of a snout. Almost nothing moves, Then, somewhere below, a fish twitches and sends out a faint ripple. The pressure-sensitive pits feel it. For a moment, the giant remains motionless, reading the invisible signal. Then the jaws explode from the water in a blur, and the river closes again over a vanished prey item and a disappearing predator. In that brief eruption of motion, another truth about this dinosaur is revealed. Its jaws are not built to shatter bone in a single brutal impact. They are built to make escape impossible. This raises an important question. What does most dangerous really mean when different predators kill in very different ways? Tyrannosaurus rex is often presented as the standard of deadly power. Its skull was short, deep, and massively reinforced, with thick teeth shaped like sharpened bananas. These teeth were strong enough to crush bones, punch deep holes in armored prey, and even bite through the heavy neck vertebrae of large plant-eating dinosaurs. Scientists have found fossils with bite marks that match T-Rex teeth, and there is evidence showing that pieces of broken bone passed through its digestive system. This was a predator that turned skeletons into splinters. Spinosaurus, in contrast, followed another path. Its skull was long and narrow, more like a crocodile than a typical theropod. The teeth were conical, smooth, and closely packed, with many replacement teeth growing in behind them. Instead of slicing edges, they formed a living cage. Rather than smashing prey apart, these teeth gripped it so firmly that struggling only drove the victim deeper into the trap. For a giant hunting in murky rivers, this was one of the most effective designs possible. Modern predators show the same divide. Great white sharks carry multiple rows of serrated teeth designed to tear into flesh, remove large chunks, and bleed victims quickly. Nile crocodiles, by comparison, use long conical teeth that interlock when the jaws close. They do not chew. They clamp, twist, and drag prey underwater. Death comes from control rather than instant destruction. Spinosaurus stood closer to the crocodile side of this spectrum, but on a far larger scale. In its aquatic environment, this control-based strategy may have been even more dangerous than raw crushing power. Giant fish and aquatic reptiles had flexible bodies and powerful tails. A single slicing bite might wound them, but not stop them. A mouth full of gripping teeth, combined with a long, narrow snout and pressure-sensitive pits, turned Spinosaurus into a living net. Once those jaws closed, the chance of escape dropped almost to zero, even if the first bite did not kill. This changes how danger is measured. Is the most dangerous predator the one that breaks bones in an instant, or the one that almost never lets prey get away? In terms of completely dominating its chosen hunting arena, Spinosaurus may have stood at the very top. Its teeth, skull, tail, and dense bones all played an important role in ruling the rivers many millions of years ago. In the next part, another set of fossils will show how this strange hunter's body was reshaped for a life between land and water. Those rivers did not just hold Spinosaurus itself. They also hold the silent record of what its teeth sank into. In the layered sands and mudstones of North Africa, scientists have uncovered a trail of damaged bones and scattered teeth that turns the riverbed into a crime scene, frozen for many millions of years. One of the most striking clues comes from isolated Spinosaurus teeth found actually embedded in the fossils of giant fish. Massive coelacanths and sawfish-like creatures from Morocco preserve conical teeth locked into their broken skulls and fin bones. These teeth match the size, shape, and internal structure of Spinosaurus teeth, providing direct evidence showing that this predator bit into large aquatic prey, not just small animals that could be swallowed whole. Other fossils go even further. Some giant sawfish spines, long and flat like ancient spears, show deep punctures and scraped surfaces that line up perfectly with the spacing of Spinosaurus's narrow conical teeth. The marks are not random. They form repeating patterns along the spine, as if a powerful jaw closed again and again while the fish struggled. In several cases, the bite marks cut across healed injuries, suggesting that these river animals survived earlier attacks before finally being taken. Scientists have also recorded similar bite traces on the bones of large aquatic reptiles from the same formations. Jaw fragments and vertebrae of crocodile-like hunters show round, smooth-edged pits instead of the sharp, serrated gouges left by blade-toothed dinosaurs. This difference in damage pattern plays an important role in identifying which predator was responsible. Here, the match points again to Spinosaurus, whose smooth, gripping teeth were shaped to hold slippery prey, rather than slice it apart. Crucially, many of these bitten fossils occur in the very same rock layers, and even the same dig sites, where Spinosaurus bones and loose teeth are found in abundance. The predator and its victims shared the same river channels and floodplains, forming a tightly linked ecosystem. This close association is powerful circumstantial evidence showing that Spinosaurus was not just passing through the water, but actively hunting there day after day. In contrast, clear Spinosaurus bite marks on the bones of large land-dwelling dinosaurs are surprisingly rare. Some scattered bones may show possible scavenging, with shallow scrapes or tooth drags on carcasses washed into the river. However, the lack of heavy damage to thick limb bones and armor plates suggests that Spinosaurus did not regularly tackle big terrestrial prey. Its jaws were not built to crush heavy bone like those of Tyrannosaurus rex. Taken together, these clues reveal a specialist. Spinosaurus was not only capable of hunting in water, it was highly adapted for it, leaving a recognizable signature in the fossil record of fish and aquatic reptiles. But if the bite marks tell one part of the story, what does the rest of the skeleton say about how this predator actually moved through its watery world? If bite marks along the jaws show how Spinosaurus attacked, the real secret to its power lies deeper, inside the body. A predator is only as dangerous as its ability to turn captured prey into energy. And in this river giant, the gut may have been one of the most efficient engines in any dinosaur. Direct stomach contents for Spinosaurus are extremely rare. Soft organs almost never fossilize, and even partly digested meals usually vanish long before bones turn to stone. Yet scientists have found important clues in the rocks of North Africa. In some deposits, scattered Spinosaurus fossils lie side by side with the remains of huge fish, such as the saw-snouted Onchopristis, along with fish scales and broken vertebrae. This close association, repeated in different sites, is strong evidence showing that large fish were not occasional snacks, but a regular part of its diet many millions of years ago. Other theropod dinosaurs tell a different, more violent digestive story. Coprolites, or all-fossilized dung, from large meat-eaters like Tyrannosaurus rex, contain sharp, angular fragments of bone. Some bones inside had been crushed so completely that they passed through the entire digestive system. This suggests that their thick, strong teeth and bone-crushing bites drove shattered skeletons straight into the stomach. Spinosaurus, in contrast, carried long, narrow, conical teeth that were smoother and more like those of crocodiles. These teeth were excellent for gripping slippery prey, but less suited for splintering hard bones. Instead of smashing skeletons, its jaws likely clamped and held, with the prey's bones remaining more intact. As a result, its coprolites might have contained fewer jagged bone shards and more finely etched acid-worn surfaces, though direct examples remain rare. Here, crocodiles offer a powerful pattern. Modern crocodiles seize fish and aquatic mammals with similar conical teeth, then swallow them in large chunks or even whole. Their strong stomach acids and muscular gizzards break down skin, flesh, and many bones over time. It is reasonable to infer that Spinosaurus, with a long torso and deep body cavity, used a comparable strategy. Instead of carefully slicing prey into small pieces, it may have gulped down huge sections of fish and aquatic reptiles, trusting its digestive system to do the rest. This kind of diet would have been rich in protein and fat. Giant fish turtles and marine reptiles provided dense, high-energy meals that played an important role in fueling a massive, semi-aquatic hunter. In a dynamic river environment filled with seasonal floods and shifting channels, a predator able to quickly convert big, slippery prey into usable energy could stay active longer, swim farther, and recover faster after intense hunts. The danger this created is easy to overlook. A hunting strategy is only half the threat. The other half is what happens after the kill. A Spinosaurus that could efficiently digest large prey could grow larger, maintain its strength, and hunt more often. Over time, such digestive efficiency would allow it to dominate river systems, turning each successful strike into the power needed for the next ambush. But to understand how such a giant actually moved through water to catch those meals in the first place, the rest of its skeleton must be examined in detail. To see that skeleton in action, the scene must shift from dry bones to a living river. Many millions of years ago, in what is now North Africa, a deep, slow channel cuts through a broad floodplain. The surface seems quiet, but beneath, one of the most dangerous dinosaurs ever discovered waits almost completely hidden. Only the tall sail and a narrow strip of back break the water, moving gently with the current. Below the surface, Spinosaurus hangs in the water column, its dense bones helping it stay submerged, its broad feet and powerful tail making tiny adjustments. The long crocodile-like snout drifts just above the silty bottom, teeth barely parted, as schools of fish pulse through the murk like living shadows. Scientists have found evidence showing that this skull was not just for biting. Along the upper jaw, small sensory pits line the snout, similar to those of modern crocodiles. In the dark, where vision is limited, these pits detect the slightest vibration, a distant flicker of movement, the pressure wave of a turning body, the low, heavy tremor of a giant sawfish's fins beating against the current. For a moment, nothing happens. Then the signal crosses a threshold. In an instant, the long body twists sideways, driven by a strong, flexible tail that works like a living paddle. The dinosaur does not surge forward in a straight chase. Instead, it lashes its entire body into a sudden sideways lunge, cutting across the path of its prey in a powerful ambush. The jaws snap shut with terrifying precision. Conical teeth interlock around the victim's body, not slicing, but gripping. This shape played an important role in controlling slippery prey. Unlike the thick, crushing teeth of Tyrannosaurus rex, these narrow teeth form a living cage. Once the sawfish or giant coelacanth is trapped, every thrash only drives the prey deeper between the teeth. Muscles in the neck and shoulders engage, and the long head lifts, dragging the struggling animal upward. In some attacks, Spinosaurus may have surged half out of the water, using its own weight and the leverage of its body to swing the prey toward the shallows. In others, it may have turned downstream, using the current to help tow the catch into quieter side channels where the fight would be shorter. On the sloping bank, the dinosaur can finally reposition its meal. With a series of jerking motions, the prey is lined up headfirst, then swallowed in heavy gulps, the flexible throat and long jaws working together while the tail braces against the water's edge. In this murky Cretaceous river environment, the greatest danger was not the splash of a visible predator. It was the silent outline just below the surface, guided by hidden sensors and armed with more teeth than any animal alive today. What other fossils can reveal such hunting secrets? Those hunting secrets do not end with how Spinosaurus killed. They also raise a deeper question. In a river system ruled by giants, did this predator stalk alone, or did more than one share the same waters? For many millions of years, large theropod dinosaurs were among the strongest hunters on land and in water. Yet their social lives remain far more mysterious than their teeth or claws. Most large meat-eating dinosaurs are thought to have been primarily solitary, or at best, loosely social. Fossils of Tyrannosaurus, Giganotosaurus, and other giants rarely show clear evidence of coordinated pack hunting, the kind seen in wolves or lions. Scientists have found trackways of some theropods moving together, but these are exceptions rather than the rule. Spinosaurus, known mostly from scattered bones in North Africa, offers even less direct evidence showing that it lived in organized groups. Instead, scientists look to the ancient environment to guide their ideas. During the mid-Cretaceous, the river systems of what is now Morocco and Egypt formed wide, branching channels filled with giant fish, crocodile-like reptiles, and other aquatic life. Such rich waterways could support several large predators at once. In this setting, Spinosaurus may have held long, overlapping territories, with individuals using the same stretches of river at different times of day or different seasons. This kind of loose spacing is seen in many large crocodiles today. They defend core areas, but still tolerate the scent and presence of rivals along the same banks. Spinosaurus, with its semi-aquatic body, dense bones, and powerful tail, probably moved along the channels in a similar way. One animal might patrol a deep pool at dawn, while another passed through the same reach at dusk, their paths crossing only during times of greatest abundance or greatest stress. Age and size likely played an important role in how these dinosaurs shared resources. Juvenile Spinosaurus, lighter and more agile, may have hunted smaller fish in shallow side channels, reed beds, or floodplain ponds. Adults, with longer jaws and more than 60 conical teeth in each massive skull, were better suited to deep channels where giant fish and large aquatic reptiles were common. This kind of resource partitioning would reduce direct competition and lower the risk of deadly fights within the species. Even so, complete separation is unlikely. During seasonal floods or fish migrations, the best feeding sites would have drawn many predators at once. Modern crocodiles offer a powerful comparison. They often gather at river narrows or drying pools where prey is concentrated. They do not hunt as a team, but they tolerate each other at close range, with tense displays, sudden snaps, and dangerous standoffs over prime positions. Spinosaurus may have behaved in much the same way. Several individuals could have circled the same churning pool, each waiting for a chance to strike, each watching the others with raised sail and half-open jaws. In a river full of teeth and muscle, the greatest threat might not always have been the prey. When two full-grown Spinosaurus drifted toward the same kill zone, did they share the feast, or did the water explode into a battle between giants? In such tense encounters, the high risk of combat made the rewards of the river even more important. For millions of years, Spinosaurus occupied a niche that few other giant theropod dinosaurs dared to enter. While land-based killers like Carcharodontosaurus stalked herds on the floodplains, this semi-aquatic hunter moved through deep channels rich with fish, lungfish, and large sawfish-like creatures. The rivers offered constant, renewing resources with relatively little competition from other massive predators. Its entire body shows how far that specialization went. Shorter hind limbs, dense limb bones, broad feet, and a tall, flexible tail turned Spinosaurus into a powerful swimmer that could maneuver in fast-moving water. The long, narrow skull, lined with conical teeth and pressure-sensitive snout pits, was built to snap sideways and clamp down on slippery prey. Scientists have found chemical signatures in its teeth and bones, evidence showing that this dinosaur spent much of its life in aquatic environments, rather than only visiting the water's edge. But every advantage came with a cost. Those shortened legs and shifted center of mass, so effective in the river, likely made Spinosaurus slower and less agile on land than more generalized hunters. A Carcharodontosaurus or an abelisaurid with long, strong hind limbs could accelerate across open ground in a way this river specialist probably could not match. On firm floodplain soil or in dense vegetation, its towering sail and forward-leaning posture may have been a burden rather than a weapon. The same pattern appears in its teeth. Compared with the thick, blade-like or bone-crushing teeth of other large theropods, the smooth, round teeth of Spinosaurus were ideal for gripping fish and soft-bodied prey without shattering. They were less suited to sawing through armor or smashing heavy bones. In a contest over a giant carcass, a Tyrannosaurus-like predator with deep, serrated teeth could tear off huge chunks and even crack limb bones, while Spinosaurus's jaws were optimized to hold, not to pulverize. Was this river hunter truly fearsome when dragged into a bone-crunching fight on land? This is where the double-edged nature of specialization becomes clear. In stable river systems, its adaptations played an important role in making Spinosaurus one of the most successful hunters of its time. Yet any major change in climate, sea level, or river flow could have been devastating. If fish populations crashed, channels dried, or wetlands shifted, a predator so finely tuned to aquatic hunting had fewer options than more flexible carnivores that could switch prey and habitats. Fossils from North Africa show that these river systems changed dramatically over millions of years. As environments fragmented and faunas shifted, the strengths of Spinosaurus may have turned into vulnerabilities. The same sail, tail, and teeth that ruled the water could have offered little protection when the rivers shrank, the fish moved on, and the balance of power among giant predators changed once again. For many millions of years, the rivers of northern Africa were ruled by a giant semi-aquatic hunter with more teeth than any animal alive today. Yet this powerful river monster vanished long before the final asteroid impact that ended the age of dinosaurs. Its fall was not a single violent moment from the sky, but a slower, more silent disaster written into the changing land and water around it. Scientists have evidence showing that Spinosaurus disappeared roughly 10 to 20 million years before the end of the Cretaceous. During this time, the region that is now Morocco and Egypt was shifting from broad, interconnected river systems into a more complex mosaic of channels, deltas, and coastal plains. Sediment layers and fossils from these rocks show that water levels rose and fell, shorelines moved, and the once stable wetlands that had played an important role in its success began to fragment. These changes were driven by a combination of shifting river systems, changing sea levels, and possible climatic fluctuations. In some intervals, rising seas flooded low-lying areas, turning rivers into estuaries and shallow bays. In others, retreating waters left behind isolated channels and seasonal floodplains. For a predator so strongly adapted to wide, permanent rivers, each step in this process likely narrowed its hunting grounds. What happens to a specialist when its favorite habitat breaks apart? Fossils from the same formations show a reorganization of the aquatic life that once filled these channels. Giant coelacanths, massive sawfish-like sharks, and large aquatic reptiles that had shared these ecosystems with Spinosaurus began to change in abundance or disappear locally. Scientists have found evidence showing that some fish groups declined while others took their place, suggesting a shifting food web rather than a stable, repeating pattern. For an animal built around gripping slippery prey with long conical teeth, even subtle changes in prey size or behavior could have had powerful effects. Other large theropods in North Africa, such as Carcharodontosaurus and its relatives, also went extinct during these regional transitions. However, Spinosaurus was one of the most extreme specialists among predatory dinosaurs. Its dense bones, shortened hind limbs, fin-like tail, and crocodile-like skull all pointed toward a life spent in the water. On land, it was less efficient than more generalist hunters, and in open ocean, it was not shaped like the fast marine reptiles of the time. When rivers shrank, shifted, or became less predictable, there may have been nowhere equally suitable for it to move. In this sense, the very features that once made Spinosaurus a near unstoppable river predator may have trapped it: thousands of teeth, a long snout, and a body tuned to the rhythm of Cretaceous waterways could not protect it from a changing planet. even a hunter built for domination can be undone when the world that shaped it flows in a different direction. Those changing rivers closed the chapter on Spinosaurus, but they also highlight just how specialized this predator truly was. For many millions of years, it ruled a very particular world. Broad Cretaceous waterways in what is now North Africa, lined with giant fish, crocodile-like reptiles, and other dinosaurs that came to drink. In this dynamic environment, a semi-aquatic hunter with a strange body plan could rise to the top. Spinosaurus carried a long, narrow crocodile-like skull at the end of its powerful neck, with sensory openings near the tip of the snout that helped detect movement in the water. Its jaws held more than 60 teeth at any one time, and over a lifetime, constant replacement pushed its total tooth count into the thousands. These conical teeth were smooth, strong, and well-suited for gripping slippery prey, not for crushing heavy bones. Together with dense limb bones, shortened hind legs, broad feet, and a tall fin-shaped tail, this animal was one of the most specialized river hunters ever known. Fossils from Morocco and Egypt, combined with chemical tests on its teeth, have given scientists evidence showing that Spinosaurus spent much of its life in water. Oxygen isotope values in its tooth enamel match those of aquatic animals, and the tall tail vertebrae indicate strong side-to-side swimming. In these rivers, Spinosaurus likely patrolled channels and deep pools, snapping up large fish and perhaps surprising other dinosaurs that strayed too close to the bank. Its many teeth played an important role in this lifestyle, forming a living cage that made escape almost impossible once prey was caught. However, Spinosaurus was not the only deadly predator of its time. While it dominated the waterways, other large theropods on land evolved very different weapons. Some had long, deep skulls armed with blade-like, serrated teeth that sliced flesh and caused massive blood loss. Others relied on speed, strong legs, and repeated slashing bites to wear down giant plant eaters. Instead of conical fish grabbers, these hunters carried tooth rows that acted more like saws or cleavers. Different environments demanded different designs. To truly understand what made Spinosaurus unique, it must be set beside the most famous land-based killer of all, Tyrannosaurus rex. Scientists have long studied this late Cretaceous predator from western North America, where rich fossil beds preserve entire ecosystems of horned, duck-billed, and armored dinosaurs. In that world, rivers still flowed, but the apex role on land belonged to a very different kind of hunter. The scene shifts from mid-Cretaceous North Africa to the late Cretaceous of Laramidia, the ancient western part of North America. Here, about 68 to 66 million years ago, a massive tyrannosaur with thick, bone-crushing teeth and a broad, heavy skull stalked floodplains and coastal forests. Its jaws were built not just to hold prey, but to shatter bones themselves. What happens when a tooth-packed river specialist is compared, feature by feature, with the ultimate land-based bone crusher of the dinosaur world? The answer reveals just how far predatory design could be pushed. To understand just how strange Spinosaurus really was, it must be set beside another giant from the age of dinosaurs. While one predator ruled the rivers of North Africa, another ruled the land in what is now western North America. This was the domain of Tyrannosaurus rex, one of the most famous and feared hunters of all time. T-Rex lived during the late Cretaceous period, about 68 to 66 million years ago. At that time, the region that is now Montana, South Dakota, and neighboring areas was a warm world of coastal plains, river channels, and dense forests. Herds of horned dinosaurs, duck-billed dinosaurs, and armored forms moved through this rich environment, and towering above them all, both in size and power, was Tyrannosaurus rex. The body of T-Rex was built for dominance on land. Its torso was massive and heavily muscled, carried on strong pillar-like hind limbs. The tail stretched behind as a powerful counterweight, helping it balance the huge head at the front. This design allowed it to move with surprising speed for such a heavy animal, while still absorbing the shock of violent struggles with large prey. The skull of Tyrannosaurus rex was one of its most remarkable features. It was extremely large and deep, wide at the back, and reinforced by many strong bones locked together like a natural helmet. Large openings in the skull reduced weight while leaving thick struts of bone to channel the forces of biting. Scientists have evidence showing that this structure allowed T-Rex to deliver crushing impacts without breaking its own skull. Inside those jaws were teeth very different from the long, narrow spikes of Spinosaurus. The teeth of T-Rex were thick, banana-shaped, and heavily serrated along the edges. Each tooth had a strong root and reinforced enamel, designed not just to slice flesh, but to crush bones and tear through entire body parts in a single, devastating motion. Many fossils of plant-eating dinosaurs have been found with deep punctures and broken bones that match this brutal tooth design. Bite force estimates for Tyrannosaurus rex are among the highest of any known land animal. Some studies suggest it could clamp its jaws with several tons of pressure, enough to pulverize large bones in one powerful crunch. Pieces of bone found inside fossilized dung provide evidence showing that it regularly shattered and swallowed bone along with meat. This ability played an important role in letting T-Rex access the rich nutrients hidden inside skeletons. What kind of predator evolves jaws that can turn bone into fragments? Here, the contrast with Spinosaurus becomes clear. Spinosaurus had more teeth over its lifetime, but at any one time its jaws held fewer, slimmer conical teeth, ideal for gripping slippery prey in water. T-Rex, in contrast, carried fewer, much thicker teeth, each one a reinforced weapon for land-based bone destruction. One skull was engineered to hold on, the other to obliterate. How would these very different designs shape the way each giant hunted and fed in its own world? Those two designs invite a dangerous question. What would happen if Spinosaurus and Tyrannosaurus rex ever faced each other? It sounds like a dramatic showdown, but it is also a useful way to understand how different skulls and teeth create different kinds of power. In reality, these giants never met. Spinosaurus hunted in what is now North Africa around 99 to 93 million years ago, while T-Rex ruled Western North America roughly 68 to 66 million years ago. They were separated by millions of years, by entire oceans, and by very different environments. Any direct fight exists only in theory, but that theory can reveal how each animal was shaped by its own world. The skull of Spinosaurus was long, narrow, and low, stretching forward like an enormous crocodile snout. It was lined with many conical teeth, interlocking to form a living trap for fish and other aquatic prey. The bones of the snout were arranged to keep it strong yet relatively light, and the surface around the jaws carried pits and grooves that likely housed pressure-sensitive organs, similar to those seen in modern crocodiles. Scientists have found evidence showing that this design allowed Spinosaurus to detect tiny movements in water, turning its head into a precise hunting instrument. The skull of Tyrannosaurus rex, in contrast, was short, deep, and massively reinforced. Its wide back end anchored strong jaw muscles, and thick bones braced the snout against impact. The teeth were few but huge, with round cross-sections built to survive crushing contact with bone. This arrangement turned the entire head into one of the most powerful biting weapons known from any land predator, able to punch through armor-like frills and dense limb bones. Place these two dinosaurs in deep water, and the balance changes sharply. Spinosaurus carried dense bones, a tall fin-like tail, and broad feet that helped it move through rivers with control. Its long snout, sensory pits, and gripping teeth were adapted to snap sideways at fast-moving prey, then hold on as it thrashed. A land hunter like T-Rex, with heavy hips and no clear swimming specializations, would be slow and unstable in this environment. In such a setting, the river hunter's skull and teeth would deliver the more deadly advantage. Shift the scene onto firm ground, and the roles reverse. On land, T-Rex combined a deep chest, powerful legs, and a thick muscular neck with its bone-crushing bite. Its entire frame was built to drive that bite into struggling prey. Spinosaurus, with shorter hind limbs and a body balanced for semi-aquatic life, may have been less stable and less efficient in a direct terrestrial clash. This thought experiment highlights an important idea. Danger is context-dependent. Each predator was optimized for its own domain, and Spinosaurus was shaped to be the dominant terror of its rivers, not a roaming land tyrant. But how did scientists uncover this division of power from scattered fossils and broken jaws? To solve that mystery, scientists turned to a surprising line of evidence: tooth counts. For millions of years, predators have experimented with different ways of filling their jaws with weapons, and Spinosaurus represents one of the most extreme designs ever discovered. Its mouth was not just long and narrow, it was crowded with teeth. Fossils of its skull show that an adult Spinosaurus carried more than 60 functional teeth in its jaws at any one time. These teeth were conical, closely spaced, and anchored in deep sockets along the snout. Beneath many of those working teeth, replacement teeth were already forming, stacked like bullets in a magazine. Evidence showing that old teeth were shed and new ones pushed up rapidly suggests that over the course of its life, a single Spinosaurus produced thousands of teeth. How does that compare with predators living in today's environments? Large crocodiles offer a useful benchmark. A big Nile crocodile or saltwater crocodile may hold 60 to 80 teeth in its jaws, and it also replaces teeth throughout life. However, scientists have found that crocodile tooth replacement is generally slower, with fewer generations forming in each socket. Over decades, a crocodile may cycle through a few hundred teeth, but its lifetime total usually falls far short of the tooth factory operating inside Spinosaurus. Sharks are famous for their multiple rows of teeth, constantly moving forward like a conveyor belt. A large shark can produce hundreds or even thousands of teeth in a lifetime, as teeth are shed and swallowed or lost in hunting. Yet many species remain smaller, with fewer active positions in the jaw at once. Spinosaurus, a land-based vertebrate that hunted in rivers, rivaled or even exceeded the lifetime tooth output of many sharks, despite having a single primary row of large, powerful teeth. Mammalian predators tell a very different story. Big cats, such as lions and tigers, carry about 30 sharp, specialized teeth. Wolves and bears have similar counts, with strong canines and slicing cheek teeth, built for cutting meat and crushing bone. But these teeth do not cycle endlessly. Once the adult set is fully grown, there is no constant replacement. Broken or worn teeth stay damaged, limiting the total number of teeth an individual produces over its life. Even other giant meat-eating dinosaurs fall behind. Tyrannosaurus rex had around 60 massive, thick teeth, but its replacement rate appears slower, and its lifetime count, while high, likely did not reach the extreme totals seen in Spinosaurus. Among known dinosaurs and modern animals, Spinosaurus stands out as one of the most impressive vertebrate tooth factories ever found, arming itself with more teeth over its lifetime than any animal alive today. But a weapon is only as dangerous as the way it is used. How did this river giant actually hunt with that endless arsenal of teeth, and what did its strange skull reveal about its killing style? To understand why Spinosaurus built a lifetime arsenal of teeth, it is necessary to imagine the violent struggle that took place every time its jaws closed around prey. Many millions of years ago, the river systems of North Africa were crowded with giant fish, lunging coelacanths, and powerful aquatic reptiles. These animals did not die quietly. They twisted, thrashed, and drove their heavy bodies side to side with explosive force. When a 50-foot predator clamped down on such prey, the stresses on each tooth were extreme. A hooked jaw full of conical teeth might be dragged sideways, yanked downward, or slammed against rocks and submerged logs as a captured fish tried to escape. In this chaotic environment, even a strong tooth could be chipped, cracked or ripped from its socket. Scientists have evidence showing that similar forces damage the teeth of modern crocodiles when they grapple with large struggling prey. For a hunter that depended on its bite to hold slippery animals, a broken tooth was more than a minor injury. It was a direct threat to survival. This is where Spinosaurus turned quantity and renewal into a weapon. Instead of relying on a few massive, bone-crushing teeth like Tyrannosaurus rex, it carried dozens of narrower, smooth, conical teeth along its long jaws, each shaped to pierce and grip rather than slice. When one tooth failed, another could still hold the prey. But even this design did not escape wear. Conical teeth resist bending better than blade-like teeth, yet their tips still grind, chip, and dull over time as they snap shut on armored fish scales and hard reptile skulls. Tiny fractures can spread through the enamel, and repeated impacts can loosen the roots. Fossils of related Spinosaurid dinosaurs show different growth stages of replacement teeth rising beneath older ones, clear evidence showing that constant renewal played an important role in keeping the bite effective. In rich river environments, this strategy became a powerful advantage. Each flooded channel and deep pool offered abundant prey, but only to predators that could keep their hunting tools in peak condition day after day. A Spinosaurus with a full, sharp set of teeth could seize more fish, hold them more securely, and waste less energy on escapes. Over many generations, natural selection favored individuals that replaced teeth faster, packed more of them into the jaws, and kept that deadly grip ready for the next strike. In this way, Spinosaurus entered an evolutionary arms race with its prey. More teeth, faster replacement, stronger grip against bodies that never stopped fighting back. Yet teeth were only one part of its hunting system. How did the rest of its strange body help control the struggle once the jaws had locked on? To understand that strange hunting system, the focus must briefly step away from Spinosaurus itself. Its teeth and crocodile-like skull were not a lonely experiment. They were part of a wider family design that appeared again and again along ancient rivers. Many millions of years ago, in what is now England, another member of this clan prowled the water's edge. This was Baryonyx, a medium-sized predator with a long, low skull and narrow, conical teeth. Its jaws curved slightly down at the front, and a massive, hooked claw on the first finger gave it a powerful tool for snatching prey from the shallows. The body was lighter than Spinosaurus, but the overall outline was clearly related. Fossils of Baryonyx provided one of the most important clues about the entire group. In the stomach region of one skeleton, scientists have found concentrated piles of fish scales and bones, along with fragments of a small dinosaur. There is evidence showing that these scales were not simply washed in by chance. They are etched and broken in ways that suggest they passed through the digestive system. This is direct evidence that Baryonyx hunted and swallowed large fish, and it hints at a flexible diet that could also include struggling land animals dragged into the water. Far to the south, in what is now Niger, a close relative called Suchomimus filled a similar niche. Its name, meaning crocodile mimic, captures the long snout, narrow jaws, and many fine teeth that lined its mouth. Suchomimus carried dozens of these teeth, more than most meat-eating dinosaurs of its size, and its elongated skull helped it snap sideways at prey, much like a modern crocodile in a warm river environment. The pattern is clear: long snout, conical teeth, and rivers rich in fish. Compared with these relatives, Spinosaurus stood out as one of the most extreme forms. Baryonyx and Suchomimus had elongated skulls, but Spinosaurus stretched that shape even further and packed more teeth into the jaws. Their bodies were large and strong, but Spinosaurus grew longer and heavier, with denser bones and shortened hind limbs that pushed the semi-aquatic lifestyle to a new level. It followed the same blueprint, yet every line was exaggerated. Spinosaurid fossils have been discovered across Europe, North Africa, and possibly South America, showing that this tooth and river hunting strategy spread widely. In each region, local environments shaped the exact body size and proportions, but the same basic design kept returning wherever broad rivers and giant fish were present. Why did this family succeed in so many distant places? The answer lies in how efficiently those teeth and skulls turned fast-moving fish into trapped prey. In this broader context, Spinosaurus becomes the ultimate expression of a river predator. It did not invent the strategy, but it drove it to the limit. The next step is to see how the rest of its body, from the heavy tail to the strange sail, worked together with those teeth to dominate the water's edge. To test that vision of a river hunter, scientists turned from shape to chemistry. For millions of years, the teeth and bones of Spinosaurus have rested in desert rock, but inside them, tiny atoms still record how this predator lived. These atoms act like silent witnesses, preserving signals of water, temperature, and movement through its ancient environment. One of the most powerful tools is oxygen isotope analysis in tooth enamel. When an animal drinks, the water it swallows carries different forms of oxygen called isotopes, depending on whether it comes from rain, rivers, or evaporating pools. As teeth grow, those isotopes are locked into the hard enamel. Many millions of years ago, each new Spinosaurus tooth captured a chemical snapshot of the fluids flowing through its body. By drilling microscopic samples from that enamel and measuring the isotopes, scientists have gained evidence showing that some dinosaurs spent far more time in water than on land. When the teeth of Spinosaurus are examined this way, a striking pattern appears. The oxygen isotope values in its enamel line up closely with those of crocodiles and large fish from the same rocks, rather than with land-dwelling theropods such as abelisaurids and other meat-eating dinosaurs. This is not a small difference. It is a consistent shift toward an aquatic signal. In simple terms, the chemistry shows an animal whose body water matched rivers and channels, not dry floodplains. Could a purely land hunter leave a record like that? Teeth are not the only fossils that speak. Bone density measurements provide a second independent test. Many fast-running theropods had light, air-filled bones that reduced weight and made them agile on land. In contrast, the limb bones and ribs of Spinosaurus are unusually dense and packed, with far less internal airspace. This condition, called pachyostosis, is seen in many semi-aquatic animals, including hippos, early whales, and some diving birds. Heavy bones act as natural ballast, reducing buoyancy and helping a large body stay submerged and stable instead of bobbing at the surface. Together, the watery oxygen isotopes in the teeth and the heavy sinker-like bones paint a unified picture. Spinosaurus was not just a shoreline stalker that occasionally stepped into the shallows. Its entire skeleton and tooth chemistry indicate a predator that lived in and around water, moving through deep channels, diving after powerful fish, and using dense limbs and tail to hold position against the current. This combination of traits was one of the most extreme adaptations ever seen in a predatory dinosaur. These modern techniques turn each tooth into a time capsule. Inside those narrow conical crowns are chemical fingerprints of feeding, swimming, and resting in Cretaceous rivers. As more fossils are tested, scientists have begun to see how Spinosaurus fit into a wider community of aquatic and land hunters, setting the stage for a closer look at how its spine, tail, and limbs worked together to control that dangerous, semi-aquatic life. Those same teeth that act like chemical time capsules also act like weapons, leaving signatures on the battlefield. In the river systems of North Africa, many millions of years ago, every bite, crush, and twist left marks on bones that still lie in the rock. To paleontologists, these are not just damaged fossils. They are crime scenes frozen in stone. Scientists have learned to read those scenes with impressive precision. Bite marks with distinctive spacing and shape can be matched to particular predators, Because each dinosaur's jaws and teeth formed a unique pattern. Parallel grooves that match long conical teeth point to Spinosaurus or its close relatives, while wider, blade-like cuts belong to other giant hunters such as Carcharodontosaurus. When a bone shows a row of evenly spaced punctures that mirrors the spacing of a Spinosaurus jaw, it becomes direct evidence showing that this powerful river hunter made contact with that victim. Some of the most revealing bones are not the ones that were simply shattered, but the ones that tried to heal. In several North African sites, prey animals show partially healed fractures, gouges, and punctures. The edges of these wounds are rounded and smoothed by new bone growth, proving that the animals survived the first attack. This means predators like Spinosaurus sometimes failed, losing their grip or being driven off. It also means that prey in this harsh environment fought back with horns, tails, or desperate kicks, turning each encounter into a dangerous struggle rather than an easy kill. Other locations preserve a different kind of story. Repetition. In certain fossil-rich river channels, scientists have uncovered dense layers of broken bones, shed, Spinosaurus teeth, and scattered fish remains all packed together. Spinosaurid teeth were replaced constantly, so every feeding event left tiny ivory calling cards in the mud. When dozens of these teeth appear alongside crushed fish vertebrae and the disarticulated bones of other reptiles, the pattern suggests repeated feeding in the same spots, perhaps where currents trapped weakened prey or seasonal droughts concentrated life into shrinking pools. Direct evidence of Spinosaurus attacking large land animals remains rare, with only a few bones showing possible bite marks from its long, narrow jaws. Instead, the clearest violence is recorded in aquatic prey. Massive fish skulls with puncture wounds, crocodile-like reptiles with jaws bitten through, and scattered fin spines bearing deep grooves. Together, these fossils create one of the most vivid pictures of intense, repeated predation in the water, where escape routes were limited and a sudden strike from below could decide everything in a heartbeat. Imagine then the riverbed itself, layer upon layer of broken bones, each one cracked, scored, or twisted, mixed with hundreds of discarded teeth shed over a lifetime of hunting. Over millions of years, this quiet accumulation formed a hidden archive of fear and survival, the long-term signature of a patient, relentless hunter. But what kind of body, spine, and tail did it take to command that deadly arena so completely? To command that deadly arena, Spinosaurus carried a body that challenged everything scientists thought they knew about giant predators. For many millions of years, large theropod dinosaurs had been viewed as land-dominant hunters, striding across floodplains on long, powerful legs. A 15-meter carnivore that behaved more like a crocodile than a classic landkiller seemed almost impossible. Early reconstructions showed Spinosaurus as a slightly strange, sail-backed version of other meat-eating dinosaurs, but still firmly tied to dry ground. Many paleontologists were skeptical of a truly semi-aquatic giant. There were no clear dinosaur parallels, and the idea of a massive predator swimming after fish sounded more like a monster story than a serious model. Without complete fossils, caution ruled. Was this animal really built for water? Or were scientists forcing it into the river because of a few fishy clues? Then, bone by bone, the picture began to change. New fossils from the Sahara revealed an elongated crocodile-like skull with long, narrow jaws. The nostrils were pushed back from the tip of the snout, allowing the animal to breathe while much of its head rested in the water. Its teeth were conical and smooth, rather than blade-like, ideal for gripping slippery prey instead of slicing flesh. This was not the skull of a typical land predator. It was one of the most striking examples of aquatic adaptation seen in any large dinosaur. The skeleton added even more evidence, showing that Spinosaurus lived differently from other giants. Its limb bones were unusually dense, lacking the air-filled spaces that made many theropods light and agile. Dense bones act like ballast, helping an animal stay submerged rather than bobbing at the surface. The tail, once thought to be simple, turned out to be tall and paddle-like, with long spines supporting a broad fin. Combined with strong hindquarters and broad feet, this tail could have driven powerful side-to-side swimming in deep channels. Yet not all scientists agree that Spinosaurus was a full aquatic pursuit hunter. Some argue that it behaved more like a giant heron or stork, wading through shallows along riverbanks and lake margins. In this view, the heavy bones helped stabilize the body in chest-deep water, while the long neck and snout struck downward at fish passing close to the surface. Instead of chasing prey in open water, it may have stalked the edges, using patience rather than speed. Here, the teeth and jaws fit both stories. Whether swimming or standing, a long, narrow snout, lined with many strong conical teeth, was perfect for seizing fish just below the surface. Isotopic signatures preserved in its teeth match animals that spend much of their lives in aquatic environments, confirming that water played an important role in its hunting routine. The debate is no longer about whether Spinosaurus entered the rivers. It clearly did. The real question is how far it went down the path toward becoming a dinosaurian crocodile, and what that meant for the prey that shared its dark, shifting waters. The picture of this river hunter might seem clear, but its story is anything but finished. For more than a century, each new piece of Spinosaurus has forced scientists to redraw this dinosaur, turning it from a land-walking carnivore into one of the most unusual semi-aquatic predators ever discovered. The first fossils, found in Egypt in the early 1900s, showed tall neural spines and a long, narrow skull, but the rest of the skeleton was poorly known. When those original bones were destroyed during war, Spinosaurus became a dinosaur built mostly from memory, fragments, and comparison. For many millions of years in Earth's history, it had ruled its environment. Yet in modern science, it survived only as scattered fossils and uncertain sketches. In the late 20th century, partial skulls and jaw pieces from North Africa began to change that image. Long, crocodile-like snouts with conical teeth suggested a fish-eating lifestyle, not the bone-crushing habits once imagined. Scientists have found evidence showing that the jaws were lined with many strong, narrow teeth, ideal for gripping slippery prey. With each new fragment of skull, estimates of its bite, its sensory abilities, and even its tooth count had to be revised. Then came the limb bones. Shorter hind legs and dense, heavy bones from Morocco hinted that this giant did not move like a typical two-legged predator. Instead of a towering, land-striding hunter, Spinosaurus began to look more like a low-slung shoreline stalker, partly supported by water. This was a major pattern interrupt in dinosaur research, a predator that broke the familiar rules of large theropod design. The most dramatic shift arrived with the discovery of tail vertebrae from the Kem beds of Morocco. These fossils showed tall spines and a broad, paddle-like tail, capable of powerful side-to-side strokes. Suddenly, artists and scientists had to rethink everything from its posture to its swimming style. Was this dinosaur spending much of its time in deep channels, driving itself through the water after giant fish and other river animals? Many Spinosaurus fossils remain fragmentary and widely scattered. Individual teeth, isolated vertebrae, and broken limb bones are found across the desert, each one a small clue in a very incomplete puzzle. In the Kem beds, teams uncover Spinosaurus remains alongside sawfish, giant coelacanths, and other large predators, revealing an environment packed with dangerous rivals and abundant prey. Future discoveries may be even more transformative. A more complete skeleton could refine its true body length, clarify how its center of mass affected posture, and narrow down how many teeth sat in each jaw at any one time. Replacement teeth locked inside the jaws might reveal how often old teeth were shed and new ones pushed through, changing estimates of its lifetime tooth count. Somewhere in the layered rocks of North Africa, more of this animal is still hidden. The most dangerous river dinosaur known to science may yet surprise researchers again, ready to rewrite textbooks and reshape the understanding of how a predator could dominate both land and water. Hidden in those rocks is a predator unlike any living animal, a river hunter that pushed dinosaur design to an extreme. Before moving on to other giants, it is important to pause and gather what the evidence has revealed about this strange ruler of the waterways. Spinosaurus carried one of the most unusual body plans of any large theropod. Its skull was long and narrow, stretched out into an elongated crocodile-like snout with interlocking jaws. The nostrils were pulled back toward the eyes, allowing the front of the snout to slip under the surface while still breathing. High above the backbone rose towering neural spines, forming a sail that may have played an important role in display or thermal control. Below the waterline, dense bones in the limbs and body acted as ballast, helping it stay submerged, while the tall, fin-like tail created strong side-to-side thrust in the rivers of Cretaceous North Africa. Inside that skull, the teeth told a different story from land hunters such as Tyrannosaurus rex. Instead of thick, crushing crowns, the jaws of Spinosaurus held more than 60 long conical teeth at any one time. They were smooth, narrow, and well-suited for gripping slippery prey, rather than breaking heavy bones. Scientists have shown that these teeth did not remain fixed for life. Replacement teeth were constantly growing up from within the jaws, pushing older ones out so that, over many millions of years of evolutionary refinement, this dinosaur could generate thousands of teeth across a single lifetime. This made Spinosaurus the undisputed tooth king among known dinosaurs, with more active teeth than any animal alive today. Its tooth batteries worked like an assembly line, ensuring that broken tips and worn crowns were quickly replaced. What did this mean for its daily life in those ancient river systems? It meant a mouth always ready to seize fish, lunging reptiles, and other aquatic prey that might otherwise slip free. Multiple lines of evidence showing that Spinosaurus lived as a semi-aquatic apex predator have transformed scientific thinking. Chemical signatures in its teeth match those of animals that spent much of their time in water. The dense bones resemble those of modern hippos and diving birds. Bite marks on large fish fossils from Morocco fit its tooth shape, while associated remains of turtles and other aquatic animals suggest a rich river environment filled with potential prey. Biomechanical models of the tail indicate strong swimming ability, and reconstructions of its short hind limbs and broad feet point to a life spent wading and cruising rather than sprinting on open floodplains. Yet this river hunter was not simply a fish specialist. It was a top predator in its habitat. It shared its environment with giant crocodiles and other large dinosaurs, but its semi-aquatic lifestyle opened a hunting zone that few rivals could fully exploit. In this way, Spinosaurus occupied one extreme end of a broader spectrum of dinosaur danger strategies. At one end stood the lightly built, water-adapted tooth king of the rivers, designed for seizing and holding prey. At the other end stood land-based killers with crushing jaws or slicing teeth. The next step is to place Spinosaurus beside those other giants and ask a final question. In a world filled with powerful hunters, how does a sail-backed river monster truly compare? Placed beside the other great killers of its time, Spinosaurus shows that danger came in many shapes. Some dinosaurs used teeth like cages, others like knives, and some hardly needed sharp teeth at all. In this mixed company of hunters and defenders, the river monster's many conical teeth formed just one strategy in a crowded field of deadly designs. The long, narrow jaws of Spinosaurus were lined with smooth conical teeth that gripped rather than sliced. They were ideal for holding struggling fish and aquatic reptiles, much like a giant crocodile's jaws, but on an even larger scale. Scientists have found chemical signatures in its teeth that match semi-aquatic animals, evidence showing that this predator spent much of its life in the water. Its danger lay in preventing escape. Once those jaws closed, The prey was pinned by dozens of strong spike-like teeth. On land, a very different kind of mouth ruled. Allosaurids and carcharodontosaurids carried blade-like, serrated teeth that turned their skulls into living saws. Instead of gripping slippery prey, these teeth sliced deep into the flesh of giant herbivores, opening long wounds that bled heavily. Fossils of sauropods and other plant-eating dinosaurs preserve gouges and cut marks that match these blade-toothed hunters. Their strategy was to weaken massive prey through repeated slashing bites, letting blood loss and shock finish the job. Further along the spectrum stood the dromaeosaurs, the so-called raptors. These smaller predators had lighter skulls and shorter serrated teeth, but their most famous weapon was the enlarged sickle-shaped claw on each hind foot. Rather than relying on sheer size or tooth count, they depended on agility, balance, and precision. With stiffened tails and strong legs, they could leap, latch on, and drive those claws into soft areas of the body. In this style of attack, teeth played an important role in holding and tearing, but the killing blow often came from the feet. Not all danger in the dinosaur world came from hunters. Ankylosaurs and ceratopsians turned defense into a weapon. Ankylosaurs carried heavy armor plates and tail clubs that could shatter bones with a single swing. Ceratopsians, with their strong necks and forward-pointing horns, became living spears. Fossils show healed bite marks and broken horn cores, evidence showing that these animals sometimes fought back with tremendous force against predators that came too close. Each of these strategies filled a different ecological niche. Some dinosaurs relied on ambush from cover, others on long pursuit over open ground, and some on thick armor that made attacking them extremely risky. In this crowded Cretaceous environment, being dangerous could mean having crushing jaws, slicing teeth, heavy armor, or simply overwhelming force in numbers. Within this deadly landscape, Spinosaurus was one of the most specialized predators. It did not crush bone like Tyrannosaurus, and it did not carry armor like an ankylosaur. Instead, its power came from control. In the rivers and swamps, escape routes narrowed, and its many conical teeth formed a living trap. The next question is how this tooth-filled river hunter measured up against the greatest land-based killers of its age. In the ancient river systems of North Africa, that tooth-filled trap ruled the waterways. Yet in the present world, there is no giant sail-backed hunter with thousands of replacement teeth patrolling the shallows. Something powerful ended that story. The question is, what force could erase such a successful specialist? At the close of the Cretaceous period, around 66 million years ago, a mass extinction struck with sudden violence. An asteroid impact, massive wildfires, global darkness, and rapid climate change crashed through the food chains on land and in the sea. All non-avian dinosaurs vanished, from Tyrannosaurus on North American floodplains to the last Spinosaurids in African deltas. Entire predator guilds were cleared in a geological instant, leaving only fragmentary fossils as silent evidence. Scientists have evidence showing that this was not just a loss of large bodies, but a loss of entire hunting strategies. The semi-aquatic niche that Spinosaurus occupied, combining river hunting with partial life on land, disappeared along with its strong jaws and conical teeth. When life recovered, it did not simply rebuild the same cast of characters. Instead, new groups moved into the empty roles, reshaping the balance of power. In the millions of years that followed, mammals, birds, and crocodilians diversified. Large mammalian carnivores took over many topland predator positions, using slicing teeth and flexible spines rather than heavy tails and air-filled dinosaur bones. Birds, the surviving branch of theropod dinosaurs, explored the skies and shorelines, from fish spearing herons to diving seabirds. Crocodiles expanded in rivers and coasts, becoming strong ambush hunters with crushing bites. Each group played an important role in the reorganized ecosystems, but none rebuilt the exact Spinosaurus formula. Some modern animals hint at parts of that lost design. Crocodiles are semi-aquatic, with long snouts and many teeth for gripping fish and other prey. Certain birds, such as fish eagles or cormorants, specialize in catching slippery animals in water. Yet none of them combine the size, towering sail, dense limb bones, and extreme tooth production that made Spinosaurus one of the most unusual predators many millions of years ago. The full package never returned. Changing global conditions also mattered. After the Cretaceous, continents continued to drift, mountain ranges rose, and sea levels shifted. The vast, warm, low-lying river systems of northern Africa that once supported giant fish and multiple large predators gradually changed. In many regions, wetlands shrank or transformed, and new climates favored different kinds of environments and prey. The specific mix of deep channels, abundant giant fish, and overlapping dinosaur hunters that fed Spinosaurus's lifestyle faded away. Scientists have suggested that this combination of extinction shock and long-term environmental change closed the window for such a specialist. The world no longer offers the precise set of conditions that once allowed a tooth-armed river giant to dominate the waterways. But if Spinosaurus's niche vanished, how did its greatest land-based rivals respond when the same catastrophe struck? And which traits gave any predator a final advantage when everything began to fall apart? Spinosaurus may have vanished when its specialized rivers dried and its prey collapsed, but its basic hunting design did not disappear. In fact, echoes of this strange predator can still be seen in the water's edge hunters of today. To understand a dinosaur with more teeth than any animal alive, it helps to watch the living shadows that patrol modern rivers. The skull of Spinosaurus was long, narrow, and packed with conical teeth, and this shape immediately recalls one of the most distinctive reptiles on Earth, the gharial. Gharials slide through the rivers of India and Nepal with a snout so thin it looks fragile, yet it is lined with many sharp, needle-like teeth. These teeth are not built to crush bones, but to snap shut around slippery fish with almost no water resistance. Scientists have drawn close comparisons between this design and the crocodile-like skull of Spinosaurus, which also carried smooth, conical teeth that gripped rather than sliced. There is evidence showing that this similarity is not a coincidence. In both animals, the long jaws spread the bite force along many teeth, reducing the chance that any single tooth will break on impact. The slender snout moves quickly through water, while pressure-sensitive areas around the jaws help detect movement. In gharials, this combination makes them one of the most efficient fish hunters in their environment. In Spinosaurus, the same basic arrangement, scaled up to a giant predator, likely played an important role in tracking and seizing large fish many millions of years ago. Another powerful modern analog is the Nile crocodile. These reptiles wait in murky shallows with only their eyes and nostrils above the surface, using stealth and patience to approach unsuspecting prey. Along their jaws are small sensory pits that detect tiny vibrations in the water. When an animal comes to drink, the crocodile launches in a sudden explosive lunge, clamping strong jaws and conical teeth around the victim before dragging it under. Fossils of Spinosaurus show dense bones, short hind limbs, and a deep, flexible tail, all pointing toward a semi-aquatic ambush strategy that would have felt familiar beside a Nile riverbank. Together, gharials and Nile crocodiles demonstrate that the body plan of Spinosaurus was not a bizarre accident. Instead, it represents a recurring evolutionary solution to hunting in water. Long, narrow snout, many conical teeth, low-slung body, and a powerful tail for swimming. Scientists have also noted that oxygen isotopes in Spinosaurus teeth match patterns seen in aquatic and semi-aquatic animals, further tying this dinosaur to the same ecological path. Yet important differences remain. No living crocodile approaches the size of an adult Spinosaurus, and none bear a tall sail of elongated vertebral spines along the back. Spinosaurus also came from bipedal theropod ancestors, so its posture, center of mass, and limb proportions were not identical to any modern reptile. How would such a creature actually move through its Cretaceous rivers? Here, these living shadows become more than simple comparisons. They become moving models. Imagining a gharial's rapid side-to-side snap, then stretching it to the scale of a two-legged sail-backed giant, offers a vivid picture of how Spinosaurus might have hunted. Visualizing a Nile crocodile sinking beneath the surface, tail sweeping in slow, powerful strokes, helps bring to life a dinosaur slipping quietly through deep channels before surging upward in a burst of speed. By watching these modern predators, it becomes easier to picture a river system many millions of years ago, where a towering hunter used a familiar set of tools in an unfamiliar gigantic form, just before the age of such giants came to an end. For millions of years, powerful predators moved through ancient rivers and forests, but when their bodies disappeared, one part often remained: teeth. These small, durable weapons outlasted flesh, muscle, and even many larger bones, turning into tiny time machines buried in stone. Teeth are among the most resistant parts of any skeleton. The hard enamel that covers them is tougher than the surrounding bones. So when skeletons are broken by floods, crushed by rock, or eroded by wind, the teeth frequently survive. In many fossil sites, scattered teeth are the only sign that a giant hunter once passed through that environment many millions of years ago. Scientists have learned to read these teeth almost like documents. The overall shape shows the main feeding style: thick, serrated blades for slicing meat, flat ridges for grinding plants, or long cones for gripping slippery prey. Under a microscope, tiny scratches and pits reveal even more. Fine, parallel scratches can indicate flesh being pulled from prey, while heavier pits suggest contact with hard material, such as shell or bone. In this way, tooth wear patterns provide evidence showing that different dinosaurs used their jaws in very different ways. Spinosaurus offers one of the most striking examples. Its jaws were lined with narrow conical teeth, smooth and gently curved, without the sharp serrations seen in Tyrannosaurus rex or Carcharodontosaurus. Many Spinosaurus teeth are only lightly worn, with surfaces that lack the deep chipping and heavy polishing expected from crushing bone or grinding tough plants. This combination strongly suggests a diet focused on softer prey. Flesh, and especially fish, fit this pattern because they do not grind down enamel in the same way as hard, abrasive material. On the enamel of some teeth, scientists have identified microscopic scratches consistent with prey sliding and twisting, rather than being chopped apart. This matches a predator that seized struggling animals and held them firmly rather than slicing them into pieces. The crocodile-like shape of the skull, together with this dental evidence, has played an important role in confirming Spinosaurus as a specialist in catching large aquatic prey. Teeth also record chemistry from the water and food that passed over them. Oxygen isotope studies of Spinosaurus teeth have revealed a signal closer to aquatic reptiles and crocodiles than to land-dwelling theropods. What does this mean? It means that, during tooth growth, the dinosaur's body water matched that of animals, spending much of their lives in rivers and lakes, rather than only visiting them. In this way, a single tooth can reveal hunting style, prey texture, and even the balance between time spent in water versus on land. For Spinosaurus, its long rows of conical teeth become one of the most direct lines into its daily routine. Stalking river channels, gripping giant fish, and living as a semi-aquatic super predator. Its tooth arsenal is not just a weapon system. It is a detailed behavioral record written in enamel, waiting to be compared with the jaws of other deadly hunters that shared its world. Those enamel records are also a warning. For millions of years, river systems have been engines of evolution, turning ordinary predators into specialists with powerful jaws and forests of teeth. The same basic forces that shaped Spinosaurus along ancient North African channels are still at work in modern rivers and coasts. Evolution is not guided by a plan. It is driven by opportunity and pressure in the environment. When a habitat offers rich prey and little competition, any animal that can exploit that opening gains an advantage. Scientists have evidence showing that many of the most extreme predators, from long-snouted dinosaurs to saber-toothed mammals, appeared where such ecological opportunities existed and where survival demanded new ways to catch and hold prey. In present river deltas and coastal lagoons, different hunters dominate the scene. Crocodilians slide through murky channels with conical teeth that grip fish, birds, and mammals. Large catfish and pike carry rows of sharp teeth for seizing smaller fish. Along coasts, seals, sea lions, and dolphins hunt with very different skulls and tooth patterns. Yet they face similar challenges: fast, slippery prey, changing currents, and competition from other strong predators. Each of these groups shows a distinct tooth strategy. Crocodiles keep many narrow, piercing teeth that can be replaced throughout life. Some large fish rely on needle-like teeth, while others use broad, crushing plates. Marine mammals often have simpler teeth, but powerful jaws and complex hunting behaviors. Together, they form a living laboratory that mirrors, in a distant way, the crowded waterways that existed many millions of years ago. If some of these lineages survive long enough, and if conditions favor it, evolution could push them in new directions. A crocodilian population in an unusually rich river system might slowly grow larger, with longer snouts and even denser bones to help it stay submerged. Certain fish lineages could evolve more teeth packed into the jaws, turning the mouth into a dense comb for trapping schools of smaller prey. Even semi-aquatic mammals could shift toward more elongated bodies and stronger tails, trading speed on land for greater control in the water. Another Spinosaurus, with the same sail, the same exact skull, is extremely unlikely to appear again. But the logic of its design remains. Teeth for grip instead of slicing, bodies weighted for water instead of fast running, sensory systems tuned to vibrations rather than footsteps on dry ground. These combinations solved ancient problems so effectively that similar solutions could evolve again in new forms. In this way, the story of toothy river predators did not begin or end with a single dinosaur. It is a repeating pattern written across deep time, from early crocodile relatives to Spinosaurus and beyond. The fossils of the future may show jaws and teeth that echo these designs. The real question is, which of today's hunters is quietly evolving toward the next river monster hidden in the sediments of tomorrow? In those ancient rivers, the next monster did not have to wait in the future. It was already there. It was Spinosaurus, sharing its world with other deadly hunters and forcing scientists to ask a difficult question. What does it really mean to be the most dangerous predator of all? For many millions of years, different giant theropods ruled different environments. On land, Tyrannosaurus rex was one of the most fearsome hunters, with a huge skull, thick neck muscles, and a bite strong enough to crush bones and tear apart even the largest plant-eating dinosaurs. In South America and Africa, Giganotosaurus and Carcharodontosaurus used long blade-like teeth to slice flesh and cause massive blood loss. These dinosaurs turned open floodplains and forest edges into killing grounds. Spinosaurus, however, claimed a different arena. Its long, crocodile-like skull, dense bones, and paddle-like tail were not built for fast chases over dry ground. They were shaped for river channels, swampy banks, and deep pools. Instead of smashing through bone like T-Rex, its conical teeth formed a living cage around slippery prey. The danger it represented was not a sprinting ambush on land, but a sudden eruption from below the surface. This is where the idea of danger becomes more complex. It can be measured in raw bite force, in the ability to crush bones, in how strongly a predator can hold struggling prey, or in how completely it dominates its environment. It can also be measured in psychological impact. the terror a giant skull and towering body would create in any animal that saw it. No single number, not even bite force in newtons, can capture all of this. Tyrannosaurus rex clearly excelled at bone-crushing power. There is evidence showing that its jaws could break large bones and that it swallowed them, as some fossils contain digested fragments. Other theropods with sharp, serrated teeth were masters of slicing attacks, but Spinosaurus followed a third path. Scientists have found oxygen isotope signatures in its teeth that match semi-aquatic animals and tail fossils that reveal a tall, flexible fin. Together, this evidence shows that it was highly specialized for hunting in water. Its thousands of teeth tell the same story. At any one time, more than 60 strong and conical teeth lined its jaws, but beneath the gums, replacement teeth were constantly growing. Over a lifetime, this predator may have cycled through several thousand teeth, each one grown, used, cracked, and discarded in a relentless rhythm of hunting. That level of tooth production played an important role in keeping its grip effective in a harsh, abrasive river world filled with armored fish and struggling prey. So, which was more dangerous? The land-stalking bone crusher or the river-haunting tooth factory? In its own environment, Spinosaurus may have been unmatched. For anything swimming or wading in those Cretaceous rivers, there was likely nothing more dangerous than a Spinosaurus lying in wait beneath the surface, invisible until the water exploded in teeth and spray. Yet danger is never absolute. It is always tied to place, prey, and time. To truly judge these predators, it is necessary to step inside their worlds and ask a final question. What did it feel like to be the hunted in each of these ancient domains? In each of those domains, danger felt absolute. A hidden Spinosaurus in a Cretaceous river, a charging Tyrannosaurus on a floodplain, a slicing Carcharodontosaurus in a forest of conifers all seemed in their own time like the final word in predatory power. Yet in the history of the planet, their reigns were brief. Spinosaurus hunted in North African river systems nearly 100 million years ago. In contrast, anatomically modern humans have existed for only a few 100,000 years, a tiny sliver at the end of a very long story. For millions of years before any human ancestor appeared, entire ecosystems rose, changed, and vanished, leaving only scattered fossils and altered rocks as silent records. During the age of Spinosaurus, the Earth's surface was arranged into different continents, climates, and coastlines. Broad river deltas cut across what is now desert, and these waterways supported vast communities of fish, crocodile-like reptiles, turtles, and many types of predatory dinosaurs. In those wetlands, giant semi-aquatic theropods were not strange exceptions. They played an important role as apex hunters, filling a niche that no modern animal fully matches. That whole style of life has disappeared. Scientists have evidence showing that other predator guilds have come and gone in similar waves. Before Spinosaurus, older theropods like Allosaurus dominated Jurassic floodplains. Long after Spinosaurus, Tyrannosaurus and its relatives ruled cooler coastal plains in western North America. Each group developed its own combinations of strong jaws, sharp teeth, and powerful limbs, and each was eventually replaced. No design, no matter how deadly, remained permanent. The fossils that survive from these worlds are usually small and incomplete. A single Spinosaurus tooth, conical and smooth, may be all that is left of a hunter that once patrolled miles of river. Yet that tooth is a durable fragment of a lost environment. Chemical traces locked inside it record the water it moved through. Microscopic wear marks show what it bit and tore. In this way, teeth and bones carry information across unimaginable spans of time, allowing scientists to rebuild entire food webs from just a few clues. Seen from this perspective, modern apex predators are only the most recent chapter. Great white sharks with rows of serrated teeth, tigers with strong forelimbs and stabbing canines, polar bears on sea ice all stand in a long, ever-changing line of dangerous animals shaped by shifting climates and prey. Even the most powerful hunter alive today would have faced different rivals, different dangers in another age. Deep time reveals a paradox. The largest and most dangerous dinosaurs were among one of the most formidable creatures evolution has ever produced. Yet, they were also fragile, bound tightly to their environments. When rivers dried, seas retreated, or climates shifted, entire ways of life ended. That same tension between power and vulnerability will shape the final moments of each predator in this story. And it also raises a final question. How long can any apex truly last? Power and vulnerability met in their sharpest form in Spinosaurus. In the river systems of Cretaceous North Africa, this animal was not simply another predator. It was a 50-foot, sail-backed, semi-aquatic theropod that turned slow, winding waterways into hunting grounds filled with danger. Spinosaurus ruled an environment of broad channels, sandbars, and deep pools many millions of years ago. While other large dinosaurs stayed mostly on land, this hunter spent much of its life in and around the water. Short hind limbs, strong forelimbs, broad feet, and a tall, flexible tail formed a body built to move through rivers, not just along their banks. In this setting, it rose to the level of apex predator, sitting at the top of a food web rich in giant fish and aquatic reptiles. At the center of its power was the skull. Long, narrow, and crocodile-like, it stretched out in front of the body like a living spear. Along the jaws, more than 60 conical teeth were set at any one time. These teeth were not thick, bone-crushing tools like those of Tyrannosaurus, but smooth, narrow spikes designed to pierce and hold. As older teeth wore down or broke, new ones pushed up to replace them, again and again, producing thousands of teeth over a lifetime. This constant replacement was not a minor detail. It played an important role in Spinosaurus's success. In a river full of struggling, thrashing prey, broken teeth were the price of every serious hunt. Scientists have found isolated Spinosaurus teeth scattered through the rock layers of Morocco and Egypt, silent records of this endless cycle. Compared with modern crocodiles, sharks, or any living predator, the total number of teeth produced by this dinosaur marks it as one of the most extreme specialists ever discovered. The rest of the body supported the same mission. The high neural spines along its back formed a sail, while dense limb bones acted like natural ballast, helping it stay submerged. The tall, fin-like tail provided powerful sideways thrust. Together with the long snout, these features formed a single integrated system for gripping, controlling, and consuming large aquatic prey with ruthless efficiency. What good is a mouthful of daggers without a body that can drive them into fleeing fish? There is strong evidence showing that this reconstruction is not just imagination. Chemical signatures in the teeth match animals that spent much of their time in water. Bone density studies reveal a heavy, sinker-like skeleton. Bite marks on giant fish fossils, associated remains in the same river deposits, and biomechanical tests of the skull and tail all point in the same direction. A semi-aquatic superpredator. Taken together, these fossils show a clear picture. In lifetime tooth production, in the special design of its skull and jaws, and in its deep commitment to an aquatic hunting lifestyle, Spinosaurus stands apart. No animal alive today combines so many teeth, such a specialized body, and such a focused role in its environment. Yet even this river monarch would face the same final challenge as every apex hunter. What happens when the waters that support it begin to change? When the rivers changed, the story of Spinosaurus changed with them, and the same is true for its story today. As new fossils rise from the rocks of North Africa, and as new technology reveals hidden details inside ancient bones and teeth, this predator continues to be rewritten. The hunt for the real Spinosaurus is still in progress. For viewers who felt drawn into the life of this semi-aquatic hunter, This is only one of the most dramatic chapters in a much larger saga of dangerous dinosaurs. Each apex predator, from Tyrannosaurus rex with its bone-crushing bite to Giganotosaurus with its slicing jaws, holds different secrets about power, survival, and ancient environments. Subscribing to this journey turns a single encounter with Spinosaurus into an ongoing exploration of the most powerful and bizarre hunters that ever walked the earth. Scientists have already transformed Spinosaurus from a land-stalking giant into a river specialist, and there is still evidence showing that the picture is incomplete. Which dinosaur's weapons should be examined next? Should the focus turn to the sickle claws of Utahraptor, the horns of Carnotaurus, or the long blade-like teeth of Carcharodontosaurus? Questions and suggestions shared beneath this episode help guide which jaws, claws, and hunting strategies are dissected in future investigations. Hypothetical confrontations also open new ways to think about these animals. How would Spinosaurus fare against a massive crocodile in its own river system, or against a T-Rex forced to meet it at the water's edge? Which hunter would control the shoreline when deep water meets dry land? By proposing new matchups and scenarios, viewers help direct attention to the behaviors, strengths, and weaknesses that matter most in these ancient ecosystems. Sharing this story can also challenge old assumptions. Many still imagine T-Rex as the only dinosaur worth fearing, the single ruler of prehistoric terror. Passing this episode to friends and family introduces a different kind of nightmare. A 50-foot river monster with a crocodile-like skull, dense bones, and a mouth full of conical teeth, designed so prey could not escape. In this way, the toothy truth of Spinosaurus plays an important role in correcting outdated images of the past. Future discoveries will not stop with this reconstruction. New tail fossils have already shown a powerful swimming organ, and future expeditions may uncover more of the limbs, the sail, or even stomach contents, as fresh fossils are described and as chemical tests on teeth reveal more about diet and environment. Later episodes will return to Spinosaurus and other predators, updating their stories and replacing old reconstructions with stronger evidence-based versions. In the end, every isolated tooth, every broken vertebra, and every partial jaw is another clue to lives lived many millions of years ago. By staying curious, asking questions, and following each new line of evidence, every viewer becomes part of the search. The next great revelation about the most dangerous dinosaurs may already be waiting in the rock, and the hunt to uncover it has only just begun. Each new discovery adds detail to that hunt, but it also erases old pictures. Few dinosaurs show this more clearly than Spinosaurus. For many years, it was drawn as a towering desert walker, striding on long hind legs across dry riverbeds, its sail glowing against the sky. Later it was rebuilt as a two-legged sprinter, chasing prey on land, much like a crocodile-shaped version of Tyrannosaurus rex. Those scenes are powerful, but they are also wrong, or at least incomplete. As more fossils were uncovered from the river systems of North Africa, scientists have revealed a very different animal. Shorter hind limbs, dense bones, a deep, paddle-like tail, and a skull filled with conical teeth all point to a semi-aquatic hunter that spent much of its life in the water. Chemical traces inside its teeth, with oxygen isotope signatures similar to modern crocodiles and hippos, provide evidence showing that Spinosaurus was not just visiting the rivers. It lived in them. Yet even this dramatic new reconstruction is still only a hypothesis. It is based on scattered bones from several individuals, computer models, and comparisons with living animals. A single, more complete skeleton could transform the entire image again. New analytical techniques, from advanced CT scanning of bones to fluid dynamics simulations of swimming, may show that its tail pushed water in a different way, or that its body mass was lighter or heavier than current estimates suggest. Many questions remain open. Was the tall sail on its back mainly for display, attracting mates and warning rivals? Or did it also help regulate temperature in a hot Cretaceous environment? Did it act like a stabilizing fin when the animal turned in the water? Or did it play an important role in making the body look larger to intimidate other predators? Its swimming style is still debated. Was Spinosaurus a slow, lurking ambush hunter? Or could it surge forward with powerful strokes to chase giant fish in deep channels? Even its famous teeth may hold surprises. Current models suggest continuous replacement, with thousands of teeth growing and falling out over a lifetime. But how fast did that conveyor belt really move? Did tooth replacement rates change between young and adult animals, or between seasons when prey was more scarce? Future microscopic studies of growth lines inside those teeth may reveal patterns of feeding and stress that are only guessed at today. In this way, Spinosaurus has become one of the most striking examples of how scientific stories change. Each correction is not a failure, but a sign of a living, self-correcting process, constantly testing old ideas against new evidence. If a dinosaur once known only from fragmentary fossils can shift from desert runner to river monster in just a few decades, what hidden surprises might be locked inside the bones of other familiar predators still to come? Those surprises lead to one last image. The camera fades from desert cliffs and riverbeds to a quiet museum hall, where a single person stands beneath a towering Spinosaurus skeleton. Overhead, the long neural spines rise into a high sail, and the narrow crocodile-like skull reaches forward, filled with rows of pointed teeth that seem ready to close at any moment. The skeleton is reconstructed from fossils pulled from ancient river deposits in North Africa. Many millions of years ago, these same bones were wrapped in muscle, skin, and sinew, moving with powerful strokes through deep, slow-moving channels. Scientists have evidence showing that the dense limb bones, tall tail spines, and conical teeth all belong to a hunter that spent much of its life in the water, tracking giant fish and other prey through a complex, ever-changing environment. From the floor, the human figure looks almost insignificant. The sail looms like a stone wall, and the jaws stretch longer than an adult's entire body. It is one of the most dramatic contrasts in any gallery. Fragile modern bones inside a living person, standing in the shadow of a predator whose own bones once carried a massive semi-aquatic body through Cretaceous rivers. In that moment, the distance between past and present feels both impossibly large and strangely thin. The camera moves closer to the skull. Each tooth is smooth, round in cross-section, and only lightly serrated, designed not to crush, but to grip. These are the same kind of teeth whose chemical signatures show repeated contact with water, matching other animals that hunted in aquatic environments. Many more once waited inside the jaws, ready to replace broken ones, so that over a lifetime this predator carried thousands of teeth through its world. It never knew that those teeth would one day sit in glass cases. It never knew that its skeleton would be suspended by hidden steel, or that scientists would argue over its posture, its swimming style, and its hunting strategies under bright electric lights. For Spinosaurus, the only reality was the pull of the current, the flash of scales, and the sudden impact of closing jaws. Even in death, the danger remains clear. The skull's long snout, the narrow eye sockets, and the deep-rooted teeth still command respect. A frozen record of how far evolution can push a hunting design. These jaws tell a story of specialization, of a predator that played an important role at the top of its food web, shaping the behavior and survival of everything that shared its waters. The final shot widens again. The person steps closer, looking up, measuring the distance from the floor to the tip of the sail. For anyone able to visit such exhibits, this is where the scale of these dinosaurs truly settles in. Not as images on a screen, but as real bones that cast real shadows. Then the lights seem to dim, and the narration turns back to time itself. Long before any human walked beneath this skeleton, rivers flowed across ancient continents, teeth erupted and fell from living jaws, and predators rose and vanished. Long after any single species disappears, the story of life will continue to unfold in the same patient way. One adaptation, one hunt, one bite at a time.